Diary of Helen Kimball Whitney. In the year of our Lord, 1885. Thursday, January 1st, 1885. I've sat alone nearly all day writing a letter to my Charlie and reading. Orson and wife went fast meeting before I was up. Mary K. came into me toward night. Also Sister Kravith and Orson and wife, and little Racy then Mary W. came in. My head was aching from using my eyes so steadily all day, but I could not sit idle when alone. I bandaged my head with wet cloth and flannel. It gave relief, and I wrote till late in the evening on my article for the news. Everyone is gone but Lily, Racy, and myself. Zena Wood is up here and is gone to Sheldon's with Jenny. I wonder how long I'll have to stay home. Friday 2nd. I slept but little last night. My right arm ached from writing, and I was wakeful. I've written too much today for my good felt exhaust before night, my cough tearing and feel sick. George Bourne called in the eve. We received another letter from Charlie today. He intends sending me some money when he gets it. Received a registered letter from Joseph Kimball with $5 in greenbacks and 1 in stamps. The proceeds of the books he took to Meadowville. Told me Sister Lindsay, president of RS of that stake, sold them, and said she would sell more, so I done up 24 and 8, directing them to Paris, Bear Lake, Idaho, this being his address, and sent them to E.B. Wells to forward to her when opportunity presents. Saturday 3rd. Spent most of it in trying to write and to copy my article. Felt so weak, had to lay down. Some cough has made my back weak. Went into kitchen today, for the first time since Christmas, snowing a little. There was young company in the parlor this evening, and while sitting talking the stove fell, frightening us terribly. Hen, Dinwiddie and another gentleman caught it up using the young man's overcoat for the purpose, and saved a fire. Some fancy parts of the stove was broken and one door, otherwise it is all right. They found one nub to a screw that fastened one of the hind legs was gone, and it had been working loose gradually, and fell with no one near it. Sunday 4th. Jen had invited company and has spent this day cooking and preparing a feast, which is a great source of sorrow to me, and to hear laughing and nonsense indulged in is grievous to me, for these things drive away the good spirit. Orson is down on these things and associating with outsiders. I pray the Lord to open Jenny's eyes that she may see the need of withdrawing from the society of unbelievers and seeking the truth and to please God. This is the only safe course. Monday 5th. I slept good when I got to sleep. Dreamed a good dream this morning about myself. Jenny and my household have been at work all day altering my new black dress. Was terribly fatigued over it. The girls have washed and gone to Helen's to spend the evening. Orson has gone to bless Emma Piper's baby, and Zena with him. I'm all the one in the house. Phoebe K. came down last evening and stayed a while. Heber is still lingering. Tuesday 6th. Helen and Lily, with baby, came up and spent the day. George ate dinner here, also Heber Wells, who came with Orson. I've been working at Helen's coat, am feeling stronger as I put a plaster on my weak back last night. Received a good letter from Br. Abe. He has had a wonderful manifestation, had dropped medicine, and is being healed by the power of faith, in a peculiar manner, gaining every day, he says. Saturday 01th. Cloudy and mild rain. Some. I've done little, but right feel very unwell, cough bad last night. Have received a registered letter from Mr. Russell of Allah with stamps for my last book. The one I sent him was never received. Got a good letter from Mary E. Kimball in Logan, working in the temple. Sister A. Frink was here yesterday, and Lucy Kimball came today and spent a little time. Orson gave me the rest of the money due me for this month. Mailed book to Mr. Russell today. I had an awful struggle in my sleep with a man who, I felt, had insulted me by his familiarity. I caught a gun, and Horace, who was there, and another man took guns and tried to fire at this man, but they wouldn't go off. I pointed mine into his face and had the same trouble. Some person told me to pull the trigger. I did so and fired, shooting him through the face. The shot appeared fatal for a moment, when he revived and took from his neck a tie, which he threw at me, or to my feet, when it began to show symptoms of life like a serpent. I took my large knife, or it was more like a sword, and cut it into several pieces, and there was filth ran out on the floor. This trick of the man gave me to understand that he was a wizard and in league with the powers of darkness, being determined to hold me in subjection to it. but I was quite as determined on my part and fought like a tiger till I awoke. He was fleshy, with good features, and well-dressed, but a devil incarnate. I thought, in my dream, after firing the gun, that I'd shown pretty good nerve for one that had never before fired off a gun or a pistol. Sunday 11th. Orson looked over my article to the news today, giving me encouragement. I read sermons and the news, then copied my piece. This has been a very quiet day, has reigned some and dreary without, but peace and comfort within. Thank the Lord. Monday 12th. Florence commenced again this morning to attend the Deseret University. I have got to pay $3 for the term that she missed, and so has Mary, the same for Lucy. Received a letter from my boy, Charlie, today saying he would come home in the summer. So may it be as my desire. Tuesday 13th. Very cold last night, laid cold toward morning. Sister Mary Crowther came to see me. I gave her some old clothes, which she wanted for her poor grandchildren. Wrote a PC this evening to David Candleland of Chester, Utah. Abram Cannon sent for 200 copies of my books to sell. Wednesday 14th. Gave Orson my copy. He took it to Brother Nicholson at the news office. Sister Chrisman came to see Zena, who, being gone, she came in and stopped with me for some time. Thursday 15th. I had to pay $6 for a load of coal today. Went down to Mary's with my sewing. I was tired out very soon and had to come back to my quiet room. My cough is very much better. Lily came into my room this morning and I attended prayers with her. Our enemies in Idaho are trying to pass a still more oppressive law to make us deny our religion, or we shall have no rights to vote or hold office. These things are necessary to prove who are the saints and who are not. Let it come. Friday 16th. Juliet came and spent the afternoon with me. My article came out in this evening's news, so much toward paying for that paper. Saturday 17th. Got up and made my fire to save Lily the trouble, wrote a letter to Cousin Libby, and finished my flannel garment. Counted up the amount of money spent out of 1 month's rent and board commencing December 22nd. Orson, having advanced $20, found I'd got $01 left for the 2 weeks coming in Jan. Sunday 18th. Built fire in my room. Dressed and went in dining room, found it rather cold, and breakfast not ready, took cold. I found it evening as my cough returned, had to go out to draw me water to drink, no one being at home. Took a chill lasting some time. Then fever, had the second chill before I went to sleep, head paining me then to cap the rest. Those deathly spells came on. Monday 19th. Found me sick enough, having those spells harder than they were in the night. How discouraging to be sick so much. Sister Aurelia Rogers came Sunday to bring an invitation to attend ladies' conference next Friday at Centerville with Sister Zena Young. Whether I could go or not, I told her, was uncertain. Tuesday 20th. Had no bad spells through the night, but felt very feeble and no appetite to eat. Wrote a line to E.B. Wells to invite someone to go to Centerville in my place. Sister Mary Ellen Kimball came to see me. She brought me $8.70 CTS from Margaret Young, who sold books for me at Logan, keeping a portion for her trouble, having sold a good many for me. I wrote part of a sheet to Bro, Soul in the forenoon. Afternoon had those spells, prostrating me on the bed. Wednesday 21st. I had to go to bed at dark, had a bad night. I never slept till nearly morning, one nap, and awoke early, trouble of mind, and I had a very sick day, having faint spells and no appetite. Helen and Alice Calder came in a cutter, surprised to find me in bed sick. Lily started for Helen's today. Thursday 22nd. Was worse, couldn't sit up at all. Mother Kravitz came in to see me. I took cold in the night, my face left side and head pained me, attended by fever. Orson came in at evening, felt drooping in spirits. I offered him my room to do his writing and telling him I would take the parlor for bedroom this winter to accommodate him. Friday 23d. Was much better than I had hoped for. Helen and Lily came early and spent the day. Helen and George went to a ball on this block at evening. In Emily Clausen's house, left baby for Flawed to take care of, but she knowing little about it. I had the fire put in my parlor, next to my room, so I would be near to help. Brotherly from Tweal came in and spent the evening. I took baby as she cried, after which Mary Whitney came and took it till it went to sleep. Hated to leave it, but I wanted her to, as she had gone out to no parties for a great while to enjoy herself. She is a dear, sweet mother and wife. I surprised myself. I was so much better in body. Still, my eyes and face pained me badly. Friday 24th. Slept but little last night, but am no worse. Helen slept with me, and George on the lounge and parlor. She went home early, and Flawed cleaned my rooms nicely. Afternoon. Lucy W. Kimball came to see me. I felt so languid. She advised me to lay down. I did so, and Mary Ellen Kimball came in and brought me some nourishing things. I asked her to take off her things, and she did so. I never suspected anything. Was very pleased to have company, I told them, though I was feeling so languid. Toward evening, Sister Miranda Hyde and Sister Taylor came in to see me, I supposed, because they'd heard of my being sick. But Sister Hyde said she expected they'd come rather early, which let the cat out of the bag. I thought I'd better change my dress, and with the surprise it effected quite a change in my feelings, so I felt quite electrified. 23 of my beloved sisters came, loaded down with good things, and with hearts filled with blessings and good cheer for me. Many prophecies were given that I should get well and again visit my sisters and attend meetings and use my pen, etc., as I had done. Testimonies were given of the good I had already accomplished with my voice and pen. Before the meeting began, we had some songs and whistling by Orson accompanied by the organ. Then went into the dining room and sat down to a sumptuous repast. I took Sister Hyde with me and the rest followed. Orson was the only gentleman, and it had been planned for me to sit at the head of the table with him, but I feared taking cold, the room being so much cooler, but I took the second chair by the stove, and all went off well. The girls had known the whole affair for a week or more, and hadn't let out a hint. They, the sisters, had been planning this to come off a week ago, also the Thursday previous. Jen had kept M. Wells posted concerning my state of health. They happened to hit upon the very best time, as I couldn't have enjoyed it before. Brother Goddard came after and took supper with the second table. Bro. Heber Grant came for his mother, and both brethren were invited to speak. Then we closed by singing the doxology. Sisters Woodruff and Horn carried on the meeting while they stayed, then left it in the hands of Sister Bathsheba Smith. Sister King addressed some affectionate lines to me, said the Spirit moved her to write after she'd retired the night before. And she arose in the cold and wrote. I told her I accepted it as inspiration, more so as it came in the stilly night, the hours when the mind is most clear and fruitful. Sunday 25th. I've read the papers that I missed while sick. Nothing of note has transpired. Monday 26th. Cold night. WMH. Kimball called this morning, told me Heber was failing fast, vomits blood, can eat nothing. Could not bear company today, was trying to attend to some bucenas, so I concluded not to try to go to see him, as I feel hardly able to walk there. Clouded up again, looks like snow. Juliet C. came and spent a while. After dark received a telegram from my dear Charlie that he'd be home tomorrow. We feel as though the house would hardly hold us. He was at Humboldt, Nevada. I forgot to mention my bro, Andrew K., who came Sunday to bid me good by going on a mission among the Lamanite. Tuesday 27th, slept pretty well, dreamed of Charlie, also of seeking, by faith, to see Joseph the prophet, whom I knew was present, only needed faith to see him, which I exercised till I saw his left hand and part of his body. I grasped his hand in mine and said, "This is his hand." I knew it from recollection, his hand being plump and fair. I could not remember much when I awoke. Another scene was connected with this. I had swallowed, as food, a great quantity of fine cambric needles till my throat was pricked and choked with them, and I had to work to get my throat cleared of them, throwed up enough so that I felt relieved. I interpret this that I shall become so full that I'll be forced to give utterance to obtain relief. That some be compelled to give vent in words. When meeting Orson at breakfast, he said I looked like another person, meaning that the news of Charlie coming had electrified me. I forgot to mention a call from M. Evans. She came to see me and had some trouble in finding me. I saw her, but supposing her to be some stranger, most likely an agent, I took no pains. Beside, I feared to stand in the door and let her go out the gate. But pretty quick Lily came to my room with her. She had inquired for me at Mary's. She was determined to see me, it having been over 20 years since we'd met. She desires to cling to Horace, said her brothers had always told her she ought to have been his wife. I've heard that she had acted in a way to forfeit her right to one's charity. But I told her if she was sincere, she could be sealed to Horace. She said she was, but this is yet to be proven. I gave her one of my books on plural marriage. This morning train brought Charlie safe to our arms. He looks so well and happy to get among us once more, and we are all happy. Flawed, instead of sending word to Helen and Jen to come up, went herself instead of to school, as she'd learned that the train came in the morning instead of at 12. We had a happy reunion at evening. Charlie brought his cousin Jeannie and Miss Tingy, whom he met in the street, home with him, and we had some music and singing by him and the girls. Then Orson sang a number of songs, all serving to make us happy. My heart is cheered to have the children together with me once more. Wednesday 28th. Lily has gone home with Helen to stay. I received a call from Mrs. Dr. Barney with a young gentleman who lodges in her house. She thinks he'll become a Latter-day Saint. I gave each a book on plural marriage. He seemed favorably impressed towards the people who had built up these waste places. I sat in the kitchen till 9 o'clock. Just as I was going to retire, Orson came into my room. We talked till about 11 o'clock, first upon our pecuniary affairs, then on heavenly matters, which were more agreeable to both of us. Thursday 29th. This day I've spent sewing. Charlie is not feeling well, said he lost his appetite on the coast. I fear this climate will affect his health, being so much colder in this quarter. Orson's wife gave birth to a daughter at 30 minutes to 9 this evening, took chloroform, and had a splendid time. Dr. Ship waited on her. The babe is beautiful, plump, and fair. Racy is tickled with a little sister, which he has been praying for some time back. Friday 30th. I've made my own fire 2 mornings past, Lily being gone. The weather is milder. This morning I ate breakfast with a relish for the first time. Lucy W. Kimball is Zena's nurse. She is feeling splendid today. Saturday 31st. Maggie Dusenbury came today. Zine stands noise splendid, better than I expected. I've written up historical sketches today for X. Charlie feels quite unwell, worries me for fear he may be sick. Flawed is not well. The girls were out late last night with company down to Helen's. Lucy stops with me tonight. Sunday, December. February 1st. Spent part of this day reading the news and other things of interest. Went to see Heber. He was pleased to see me, found him better than I could have expected, but he looks like death. WM was stopping with him. I took dinner at Mary W.'s. I called in there on my way home. In the evening I wrote more history. Lucy is to stop with me tonight. My out today was my first since the 9th of November, except once a week or 2 ago, when I went down to Mary Whitney's and spent a half hour, which tired me completely out. A long time to be shut up in the house. Monday 2nd. Emmeline Wells called to see me, found me writing, only stopped a few minutes. Has Bell's children in her charge, she being gone with Sears on the Underground Railroad to parts unknown. President Taylor has retired after giving a warm sermon on Sunday. Tuesday 3D. I still make my own fire, thankful to be able. Wrote considerable today, had bad yesterday and today from too close writing. Felt lonesome at evening and wishing my children's company, built the fire in parlor and invited them in. Charlie had a friend call on him who sang a song. Charlie and Florence also sang. He is feeling better for a day or 2 past, but is anxious to get to work at something. Wednesday 4th. In trouble again over pecuniary matters. Retrenchment is the tune. I have swallowed all the needles that I can hold, till I'm pricked to the core in fulfillment of my dream. I want to see BP Preston this afternoon about getting work for Charlie. Told him a few things concerning the present condition of my son Orson, also of Horace's family, and that I thought it would be no more than right for them to be assisted by the church at least till they got out of debt, after the years that he had labored for others and worn himself out. He, the BP, thought the same, and offered to assist me if I would accept it, and promised to look out for a job or situation for Charlie. I didn't accept the order offered me, feeling delicate in so doing. I went from there to Exponent off. For my papers, got them, and had a little visit with M. Returned and called at the TO where I met Joseph Kingsbury, learned something from him that surprised me concerning the Whitney estate. Though $5 is to go to pay Horace's indebtedness to the church, he said BP Preston had told him that he would see that it was made up to us, and we should not be the losers. I returned home and sought relief in prayer and shed a few tears, which relieved me somewhat. Lucy came into my room and spent the evening. Thursday 5th, spent almost a sleepless night. Sleep would not come to my relief, till hours of prayer and struggling had passed. I arose late with headache. Wrote some of my feelings on paper. I hear that Heber is fast failing. David told me I would be the next one to go after Heber. I presume I shall be glad to go when the time comes. Friday 6th. I slept but little, and that in the latter part of the night, and awoke before daylight. Felt broken-hearted, but not discouraged, as yet. Mary W. came in last evening. She thinks me foolish to worry, if she don't, with all her little children. Said she felt no concern but what she'd get along some way. Neither should I if I wasn't harassed by others. I sent Charlie to BP Preston for the $10 order he offered me yesterday. $50 don't cover my expenses for the house. Saturday 7th. I had only a tolerable night. Laid awake hours last evening. Orson invited me to hear the Babe Blessed Bro. Nicholson was mouth. Refreshments were passed by Lucy. Cake and lemonade. Baby is named Emily for Zena's mother. I've never scarcely given way to weeping as I did last night and today. I cried aloud and besought the Lord to take cognizance of my sorrows and intercedings, and take off the weight from my shoulders that did not belong to me, and show me my own shortcomings, that I might have charity for the ones who wound me. Charlie came into my room this afternoon, and we had a good talk. He says he feels as though he did not want to mix again with the world and its follies, desires to go forth and preach the gospel, this being the height of his ambition. This does my soul good. Would that there were more of his way of thinking. Sunday 8th, spent a tolerable night, a portion of it in prayer, to know the Lord's will concerning myself and family, and what course to take to please him. My eyes are a fountain of tears. I fasted today. Jenny brought me coffee and food at 12 o'clock, which I partook of, but intended to fast till 4, the usual hour for Sunday's dinner. Lucy came in with a plate of sweetmeats, sent me by Zine. We had quite a talk on various things. Heber died this morning at 11 o'clock. I almost felt homesick to go with the same escort that took him to father, mother, and others who would welcome me there, where no sorrow can enter. Orson came into my parlor after we'd taken dinner, and we had a good talk. He was humble as a little child, told me how sad he felt to see me bowed down in sorrow, etc., etc., and many other things he said that took a weight from off my shoulders, and made my heart lighter, though the Lord had already shown me that my prayers and offerings had been accepted, and that he approved of my acts, and that as long as I did right I would rise triumphant over every power that sought to discomfort, and such, unless a change took place, would yet be left friendless, instead of me, which brought a feeling of charity toward one whom I've since learned has acknowledged herself in the fault to other parties. But not to me. She could give no reasons for coldness and ill treatment towards me, said I was innocent of any provocation against her, which is a big step towards the right one. Monday 9th, spent this day looking over letters and papers. Charlie has been notified that he can go to work at the TO tomorrow. We both felt thankful that the way had opened for him. Tuesday 10th, snowing this morning. My son, OF, assisted me up the hill to attend Heber's funeral, though walking very slippery. Had an interesting meeting. Angus Cannon spoke. The music and singing, under Bud Whitney's direction, was grand and touching. The house was crowded. Phoebe and family take his loss to heart, very much. WM took the charge and management of affairs, in filling carriages, etc. He met me at the door, and seated me at his side, also took me to the grave with his wife Martha Kay and Vera Kimball. The funeral proceedings were directed by the ward BP, O.F. Whitney. Received $5.60 CTS from Ogden, 4 books. In the evening, commenced a letter to Katie Kimball. Wednesday 11th, snowing terribly. Have done some writing and reading today. Charlie is nearly sick. Work too hard. His feet wet and back, and his whole body sore and lame. I rubbed him with Pond's extract before he retired to bed. Said he never slept all last night. He was too tired and lame, but he'd rather work hard than be idle. Thursday 12th. This day spent copying from Horace's journal. At winter quarters, my arm and shoulder painful, from writing caused by the great amount of writing previously done from time to time with pencil, etc. Have had to give up and lay down a while last evening, and this being completely used up, I am so anxious to accomplish what I have on my mind to do before I pass over to the other side. Friday 13th, wrote half the day and found my strength gone. Concluded that I must quit and go away, or I'll be sick in bed, head aches and my back lame. This day I left and went to Exponent off. Stayed there a while, and the snow began falling. Went and took streetcar and rode to Helen's. Astonished her and Lil to see me in a snowstorm. Found them well. Saturday 14th. I helped make Helen's baby a dress, took another cold, and coughing again. Helen would not hear of my going home, so stayed all night with Lil. She seems happy. Helen says she could not do without her. Sunday 15th, found me and Helen feeling poorly. She, tired out, and has taken cold. Baby dressed in short clothes for the first time today. I got George to speak for a carriage to bring me home at evening. Found Jenny sick upstairs, went and had her come down into my room. Was very sick at the stomach, vomited twice, high fever, made mustard poultices for her side, as she had pleurisy. Orson came and administered to her at bedtime. Monday 16th, Jen has slept pretty good the latter part of the night. Thinks the anointing and faith done her the most good. I slept some, felt tolerable till my cough, and doing too much work has made my lungs and body ache, and my back is very bad. Jen has been raising blood, and is still sick at her stomach. We sent for Bro Josh to go for Dr. Russell has been and found him. He said the things I had done were the best, and her cold was pretty well broken up. Told me to give her a vapor bath and she'd be all right. I did so, and she went to bed and sweat thoroughly when I rubbed her body with alcohol and dressed her and fixed her in bed again. Tuesday 17th. This has been another hard day. Jen has been better, and then worse this morning. Dr. thought her getting along well. Josh went to drugstore and got belladonna plasters for her side, as she was in awful pain. She thought they gave her no relief, and consented to having another poultice of mustard. Was somewhat relieved. Still, the pain is there. I have lumbago, my back very painful, and my cough troublesome. I received a long letter from Brother Soul and wife. Sunday he is coming up to April conference, he says. Flawed is staying out of school today. To Wash has had a hard day of it. Jen so much worse. At evening sent for Orson to administer to her. He was out till late, came in after returning home, anointed and prayed for her. Wednesday 18th. We've spent another bad night with very little sleep. I'm feeling the loss terribly. Jen was easier through the night, but nervous and wakeful. Still has high fever. Doctor came today and used resuscitator and then prayed for her, which brought relief. He now says lung fever is what ails her, what I thought Monday, from her symptoms raising blood. Thursday 19th. Jen felt so faint this morning, had to have the door opened for breath of air. She took laudanum last night, and we slept pretty good. Her cough is bad. Sent this morning and got her some medicine like pause for her cough. My own is still troublesome, and I felt very languid when rising from my bed, wanted more sleep. Charlie brought me $9.35 in orders on TO. He's received $10 for 5 days' work, got 65 cents in cash. Helen came up to see Jen. She has been sick ever since I was there, and looks like it. Friday 20th. I slept more last night than I have any night this week, but my head commenced aching before morning and has been awful all day. Jen said some peculiar things through the night. At intervals she spoke to me of what she was doing. She was recording the names of those who were judged as worthy of salvation. Some were left out, being unworthy. Some on both sides were familiar names, and others were strange, but were made acquainted. She told me that most of her friends were among the good. Some with whom she had been associated were cast out, but said she, I don't feel now as I did about them. I can understand things better. Her feelings had undergone a great change, and she said to me, you know, Ma, that I told you I believed I should die, but I shan't, for the resurrection is here, and we shan't any of us die. The millennium is right upon us. Ain't it nice, Ma? She repeated this a number of times, and seemed to be so animated at the sight and prospects before her. Once she said, I ain't hardly any tired, though I've done so much writing. At another time she said she was so tired and turned over to rest, but continued on through the night, and in the meantime she'd help herself to drink and to cough medicine from a small bottle on the stand by the bed, and nothing seemed to break the vision asleep or awake. She said she saw her pa and ma, but at another time she says, I haven't seen Lucy nor Mary yet, meaning her father's wives, only one of which she ever saw, as Lucy died years before Jenny was born. Towards morning she turned over and put her arm over me, saying, Oh, I'm so tired. I'm going to try now to go to sleep. She'd been had at work all the time recording the names of the ones who were accepted of the Father. When the fever left her in the forenoon, she was quite prostrated and didn't wish to be propped up. As she had done all the day before, after 12 o'clock, she fell into a heavy sleep, making a groaning sound at every breath. When called to dinner, I refused to leave her, but Flawed offering to stay, I went, and when about done eating, she called me to come, as Jen wanted me, but couldn't tell the thing she wanted. When I got there, another person was holding her up, but her head lopped over, and she had no power to open her eyes, which were only partly closed, nor to speak, and looked as though she was dying. I sent for Orson to come in and administer to her. He did so, with Charlie and myself uniting our faith, which was considerably weakened to see her, to all appearance, in the grasp of death. I felt that I couldn't give her up, and kept my hands to her head, praying silently 2 or more minutes after we had pronounced Amen. All of a sudden she opened her eyes, and wondered if she was dying. She afterwards said seeing several persons around her bed caused her to think so. Orson came towards night with Brother Nicholson, and they again anointed and prayed for her. Saturday 21st, Lucy W. Kimball stayed with Jen last night, and I laid on the parlor lounge, had little sleep. Jen and Lucy had hardly a wink of sleep. Jen was so nervous and wakeful, wants me to stay with her after this. She sees no company today, by her request. Has slept considerable. The doctor used the resuscitator again, by her request. I've cleaned my room for Sunday. My back is bad, and Flawed has more to do than she is able. Lucy helps her all she can, and is to stay with me a week till Jen is better. I have to let the outside door stand open to give Jenny fresh air, just as I was, when sick with lung fever in February, some 15 years ago, and was given up to die. Jenny's suffering has been slight compared with mine, with pleurisy on both sides, or lung fever in its worst form. Sunday 22nd. Jen is some better, though very languid and loath to talk. George, Helen, Lily, and baby came up today. Lily burst out crying when she saw Jenny looking so sick. She was pleased to see them, particularly the baby. Her nerves are in a frightful state, and cough troublesome. My own is also bad, and likely to be while I have to expose myself both night and day. Dr. Russell told me to give Jen some rhubarb and magnesium, which I did, but it not being likely to move her bowels, I gave her an injection of water, which assisted her, so there was a good operation, and I felt thankful, as she'll no doubt be better. Monday 23rd, Jen better, though very weak. I suffer with the pain across my back and hips, and from my cough. Jen's cough is also bad. She felt rheumatic pains across her stomach after noon, and I sent for the doctor. I asked him what ailed me and what to do. He said kidney complaint, and he would operate on me tomorrow. Told me to take Sweet Spirit of Nitre. Jenny also takes it in the morning. I felt very low-spirited, and when I knelt to pray, before retiring, Jen asked me to pray aloud. I did so, and was so affected that, some of the time, I could hardly go on with my prayer. Tuesday 24th. Did not sleep till late. Jen is so much better. She told me in the morning that she was nearly starved. I got her some toast and coffee, which she soon made way with. I felt so faint I could hardly speak till I got some too. She has been up, her bowels moved, and has sat in the big chair a short time, and is now on the bed asleep. I feel somewhat low-spirited. Wednesday 25th. Had a good night. First one that I've not got up 3 or 4 times. Jen slept well and ate more than she has before. Feels much better, so do I. In the afternoon, Lucy asked if I did not want to walk with her. The day is so lovely. I asked Jen if I could. She said, certainly you can. We first went to Coladiar. Snows. From there went to X office called Tithing Off. Store. On our return, I got me a black pin for myself, price $1. Lucy bid us goodbye at evening, having been here 4 weeks. She has been very faithful to her post, and assisted Florence about the work. Mary's Lucy is under Dr. Russell's care. Her left lung is badly affected. He says she has looked badly for some time, which fact I mentioned to them, and that something ought to be done for her immediately. I have felt but little pain today. I gave the doctor $2 for advice to me, though he did not charge. He was sick yesterday and did not come, and though he called today was not able to operate on me. Thursday 26th, Jen is dressed, but feels very weak. Helen and baby and Lily came home and spent the day. Loveliest day that we've had this month. I fixed Lily's dress and at evening ironed some clothes. The doctor must be sick as he failed to come. Friday 27th. We had a good night's sleep. The day cloudy and began to rain, then turned to snow towards night. Jen is so much better today. She went into Zena's room twice and remained quite a while. Among other things, I dreamed of traveling with many others, and as we neared our journey's end, I was taken into my father's and mother's carriage to ride with them, and I thought how comfortably I should ride the rest of the way to what I had in the former part of the journey. I prayed last evening that the Lord would give me a dream concerning myself, whether I should tarry long in this probation, if he saw proper to grant my desire, as I wished to know for my own satisfaction whether my work was to be continued here, or if I should soon go beyond the veil. Saturday 28th. Jen still gaining myself, also weather pleasant. Received a letter from my cousin Rose, cleaned my room and scrubbed part of the porch. Flawed done all the kitchen work and cleaning. Jen has spent the day in Zine. Sat up all day. I went down to Tio. Got $1 order for meat, sent some home by Racy, and went to Pran's bookstore, bought 2, and he presented me with 1 magazine. Sunday, March 1st. I've slept good nights since Jen got better and felt so well today. Besides slicking up my room, and I went to meeting and washed the dinner dishes for Flawed, which I feel thankful for. Jen has spent most of the day in the other part of the house. Feels real smart. I've written a letter to cousin Rose this evening. Monday 2nd. Jen has walked out and took dinner at Mary's. I took a walk to Tio, got an order of $1.50, bought a smoked shoulder, went to see about my new clock sent to be fixed some time ago. They charge $1, promised to send it to me. Weather lovely. The clock has come all right. Tuesday 3D. We all feel pretty well. I've spent this day knitting and reading. Had callers. Sister Humphrey, agent for a medical work, was one. She spent some time explaining till I was quite interested in it. I presented her with one of my second pamphlets. She offered to take some of them when she goes south and sell them for me. I told her I'd allow her something for her trouble if she would. She is a poor woman with a number of young children, and I feel for her. Sister P. Staines and a sister with whom she boards came in before she left, stayed only a short time. Wednesday 4th, went to Tio Meat Market, bought Send It Home by Racy. I went to Exponent Off, got my papers, took my article for next number. Sat a while with M. From there went to Hardee's and Burton's store to pay my debt, which came to $14.55 CTS. Bought me a small teapot. Have felt tired out all the rest of the day. Have done a little knitting and swept the kitchen for Florence, who has done the washing, and went horseback riding with Henry Dinwoody. Came home and washed the dishes, also the oilcloth, and blackened the stove. Thursday 5th. Fast day. I sent $1 order on Co-op for the Poor by Orson. As I'm not able to walk to meeting at chapel, I fasted at home, and I sent 112 of my pamphlets Why We Practice Plural Marriage by Charlie to the tithing off for my tithing. Jen went this morning to see Sister Sloan, who is very sick. Sister Susan S. Young and Emily Young called as teachers, and Rachel Simmons and her daughter Lucy Snow came and spent the afternoon. Charlie brought me $19.15 in orders for his work, and Carl Young sent in a bill of $9.40 for milk, which is rather an expensive luxury for us to indulge in when we are in debt. Friday 6th. I've passed nearly a sleepless night thinking over our circumstances and how we were to get along without running headlong in debt unless we could lessen our expenses, and how I can pay taxes. The Lord only knows. I told Orson about the milk bill, etc., etc., and he paid $3 for the extra quart that he had ordered during his wife's confinement, which has relieved me somewhat. He feels anxious and troubled about how he is to get along. No house or home of his own, and paying tithes and donations, etc., but I'm old and too nearly worn out to bear up under much more trouble of mind, which affects my body to that extent that I feel it impossible to put my mind on writing, which I could do to the benefit of others, as well as being an occupation for my otherwise restless mind, while I had Horace to provide and care for my comfort. If I had strength to do bodily labor, I should do it and could feel happy and shake off my cares at my heels. Independence is most desirable and happifying to me. I've spent the afternoon to Mary's with a room full of visitors: Sister Lucy Kimball, her daughter Eliza, Mrs. Talbot, Mrs. Mason, L. Decker, Jen and Zena. Sister Frink came to see me and stayed a while. Saturday 7th. Slept one nap last night and laid awake a long time after my mind troubled over many things. How we are to do. Flawed is tired of drudging and no prospect of anything else. Jen, not likely to be strong enough to help very soon. Oh, how I feel my loss, my widowhood. I wept and prayed the Lord to help us in our spirit and to make me willing to yield up what to me has been a haven of rest, if it must be so, my comfort and quietness sacrificed to gain a livelihood. I spoke this morning to Flawed about changing her circumstances, going out to learn sewing. She leapt at it. But I'll have to hire a girl in her place if she does. Received an invitation to a surprise on Sister Rachel Grant. Her birthday went at 6 o'clock, had a very pleasant time. Sunday 8th. Attended meeting at Tabernacle, met my sisters Alice and Sarah and their Aunt Amanda Kimball. Monday 9th, I gave Flawed $5 to get her some shoes, etc. Went to Mr. Pitt's funeral and to the grave. Belle, his widow, sent a carriage for me, and I had got below the co-op with Jen, intending to take streetcar when the driver overtook us, and we rode the rest of the way. Tuesday 10th. I attended our Relief Society at the Lion House. From there went to co-op, got some apron cloth. I called at tithing store, traded back an article, for which I'd paid $1.50 CTS, for an alum casting $3. Jen is visiting at Reese's. I took a dose of laudanum at night, as I'd slept so little for a number of nights. Wednesday 12th, we had a rain last night, which was welcome, the streets being so dusty. Zena and children went to Provo this afternoon. I've done up some papers to send out to Gentiles, made me an apron, and cut out 2 for Lily and Helen. Thursday 13th. After I'd lain awake a long time, got up and took laudanum to make me sleep. Helen and Lily came up today to visit with Mary's girls, Rachel and Henrietta Simmons, and Rachel's 2 eldest daughters, at Mary's. I went also and spent the afternoon. Also Jen and Bud's wife were there. Bud, Orson, and Deck took dinner. Friday 14th. Jen and I retired last night at 8 o'clock. Slept good. We took some fetty. I awoke at daybreak and got up early. We both feel well today. I wrote a short letter to Mr. Beard. Emmeline and Sister Emmy Kimball came in the meantime, wanting her and myself to go to Tooele in the morning to attend Lolly's Relief Society, as there was no one else to be found that could go. We agreed to it. I am to spend tonight at my Helen's, where Emmy is to meet me in the morning. Sister E. Warburton sent a special invitation to me to go. At evening I went down to Helen's, Charlie carrying my package of books, etc. Saturday 15th, I slept but little that night. Started at 8 o'clock, for the depot. Found myself 1 hour too soon, but waited there, Mary Ellen finding me. We had a pleasant trip. Found Sister Tate with carriage waiting for us. Meeting half through when we got to Tooele. Went to the meeting. Apostle Lyman was there and attended all the meetings and spoke twice. Occupied all the afternoon on Sunday. I was invited to speak each time 3 times the first day and spoke one Sunday. Was invited to speak afternoon, but as Apostle Lyman was there and expected to speak, I declined. Mary Ellen's voice was not strong enough to be heard, therefore more devolved upon me, and I felt that I had not filled the bill. Sister Warburton made me more than welcome at her house, where we were treated as though we were queens. She and the second Sister W. have warm hearts, and said to Mary E. that they fell in love with Sister Whitney the first time they saw her, which was about 1.5 years ago. When I attended the conference of RS at Tooele, we took dinner on the day of starting home, the BP's brother to Sister E. Warburton's. When we arrived in the city, took an express and rode home. I brought money from the presidents of Grantsville and Tooele. To E.B. Wells I took 24 of my books out there, sold 3, and left the rest with Sister Tate. After returning home, took the money to M. Wells. That evening, attended 18th Ward reunion at the social hall, but too tired to enjoy it. The tables were loaded with the good things of earth. Jen has been too smart, working, walking and going to the party, and taken cold. Her cough bad. I found a letter had arrived from Mr. Beard of Spiceland in answer to my card. He is a beautiful writer, and expressed great sympathy for the loss that we'd sustained, and the sickness of my daughter, etc. Monday 16th. Today I went to Exponent office for papers and to take my article, and to Dwyer's where I spent $1, got an album to send to little Katie Warburton, who was very kind, and wished to button and unbutton my shoes or to do anything I wanted. I also got an album of Salt Lake City to send to my cousin, Libby Walling. Tuesday 17th, flawed washing. I've done up the work and got dinner, tired me out. Received a letter from Sol saying he was not coming to conference now. Heber was dead, it being the most he was coming for, to see him and his own health wretched, suffering from diabetes. Enclosed was a copy of a letter written by him to Isaac Kimball, whom he has long dealt with in all kindness, and at last pronounces him a bad man. I gave Orson the letter, to have part of it published in the news. Wednesday 18th, Jen's cough kept us awake. I was worried over her condition. Have written a card to Mr. Beard. Been down street, got some tar drops for cough. At evening, Orson spent a little time talking with Jen and me upon different subjects. Satan is busy trying to destroy the work of God. Brother John Nicholson has become a victim to the spleen of the devil's agents in our midst. They are now hunting for the midwives to serve their writs upon Mary's LOL. Has gone to another masquerade ball. I refuse to let Flawed go, and she don't seem to care about it. Thursday 19th, Jenny coughed some in the night, kept me awake, feel poorly, but concluded, last evening, to fast today, and am doing so, that I may get faith and power over darkness, and gain strength to come up to my duties, in public and in private life. Among my household, the Lord only knows my anxiety in behalf of those whom He has placed under my charge. I feel much stronger than I did this morning. It is now noon. Friday 20th. Felt very feeble this morning until I'd taken breakfast. Jen is worse, her cough bad, and kept us awake some through the night. I walked to our conference, was the only one who spoke in the morning, as I had informed Sister Horn that I should be obliged to go home to Jenny. She, Sarah Kimball, Sister Taylor, and another sister, invited me to take dinner with them, and I had to decline. Would liked to have stayed, felt very sorry to be deprived of attending conference afternoon, but we expected Dr. Anderson, and Jen didn't like to talk to him. Sister Angie Frink came home with me and stayed till 4 o'clock. I might have gone to meeting had I known just when he'd come. Saturday 21st, Jen is better, but doctor did not come, so I went to drug store and got a bottle of Warner's Safe Cure, though I waited for him till night. I've cleaned my room and done other chores, sent off 3 packages of Drive News to Gentiles. Sunday 22nd. Remained at home, read 2 of President John Taylor's sermons, then commenced an article for the news. Orson returned from Provo today, went there on Friday. Monday 23rd. Jen and I went to M. Piper's, also Mary, where we met Lucy Kimball and Eliza W., enjoyed ourselves and returned at dusk. Tuesday 24th. I was taken, after retiring, with the most deathly spells, which continued all night, and numbers through the day. My nerves were in an awful state, did not get up till late. Jen thinks her medicine is helping her. I feel better this evening. Received a book from John T. Kane, in Washington. Jen, some flower seeds, from his daughter who is there also. Wednesday 25th. I went down street and traded for groceries, bought a rocking chair at Burton's for $4.50 for Helen, a birthday present, ordered it sent to her house, went from there, in streetcar, to M. Piper's, where I'd been invited to go, but declined, as I felt so poorly. When I got out, changed my mind, found Helen, Lily, and baby there. The baby had been sick. Jen came there toward night, and she, Mary, and I returned home on streetcar. Clarence Talbot arrived home the same evening and called after Jen and I had retired. We were both nervous and wakeful afterwards. Thursday 26th. I felt very much worse, too sick to sit up much of the day. Flawed also sick and spent the day in bed. Jen went down to Mrs. Talbot's and returned after noon with Clarence. They'd been to Helen's and found her gone to Gru's to get dress fitted. Lily's health is poor, looks thin, and poor appetite, which worries me considerably. Friday 27th. I've been very feeble this 2 days, my body trembling and nervous, with palpitation of heart. Not able to get around. Flawed still poorly. Jen has gone out, had a call afternoon from Fanny Thatcher with her sister and daughter. Our place is quite improved by the trimming of the shade tree and cleaning the yard. Charlie has sent 2 men to do it. I had the big pile of coal ashes turned to account. by spreading it around back of the house and graded down to the ditch, with earth on top, which is quite an improvement, as well as an economical way of disposing of ashes. This is the way they do in California, which I can thank Lucy W. Kimball for telling me. Brother Jensen teacher called at evening. Charlie brought him into my room. Jen and Orson came in shortly. We'd been talking a while, and I invited Brother Jensen to pray before he left. When we knelt down, his prayer was humble and to the point, and did us good. Orson and Charlie spent most of the evening in my room talking over past events and relating some of their boyish tricks and rogueries. Quite an entertainment. After Orson went out, Jen read a story to Lily and me from Lady's book. Saturday 28th. I slept but poorly. Have cleaned my bedroom. Flawed has done a hard day's work, cleaning all the east rooms, upstairs and down Orson's into the bargain. Orson has heard that his baby is sick. In Provo, I gave to my workman 25 cents as he couldn't get meat on the order for provisions to eat Sunday. He is faithful. We asked him to dinner today. As he lives so far away, he was grateful, and I love to do good to the poor, who appreciate small favors as he does. I'm tired out tonight. Sunday 29th. I was the first one up and built the kitchen fire, got breakfast, and have done myself over. Flawed, not feeling like rising. I had to go to bed a while, my back paining me, so could not sit up. Jen got dinner, cooked chicken, and made a cake, etc. Orson has gone to Cottonwood to preach with Brother John Sharp. I've done some writing, have enjoyed a quiet and agreeable day reading and writing a little and conversing. Charlie has spent the afternoon in the parlor with myself and girls. Charlie and Flawed went to evening meeting, enjoyed it very much. In the meantime, young company came in, and we had some lovely singing by Mississippi Raleigh and some Irish and Dutch speeches from Charlie, and Flawed gave a recitation on McLean's Child. Monday 30th. We were late to bed, and my inclinations this morning were to sleep, but Flawed called us early, and I arose. Orson was up, and we had an interesting chat at breakfast, which I relished more than my food. I've written some on an article for the news. Mrs. Talbot and family are moving up to Mary's. My strength failed me afternoon, and I was obliged to put away my writing. Took a walk to Exponent off, and visited with Emmeline. Called at Co-op. Tuesday 31st. Felt badly for lack of sleep last night and night before, but got better by going out to market from their walk to instructor office and had a talk with Abram Cannon concerning the debt I owe him for publishing my last pamphlet. He gave me to understand that I needn't feel troubled about it. From there I went on to Helen's and found that she'd gone to my house with Lily and baby. I was tired out, but took streetcar and returned. Found Helen looking badly. She'd been quite sick. We had a pleasant visit. George came to dinner, and at night to take them home. He brought a picture of the temple, tabernacle, and other houses and gave it me. Bro. Crocheron called to inform me that the negatives of the pictures of representative women of Mormondom at Savage's were spoiled, and they'd made arrangements with another house to have us go there to be retaken. I'd congratulated myself that mine had been taken while I was fleshy, as I've fallen away so much since that. Wednesday, April 1st. Flawed washed. Jen got dinner. I went to call on E.B. Wells. She was somewhat sad over Belle's condition. Thursday, second fast day. I sent 25 CTS by Orson for donation. Have been writing some for news. Friday 3D. Nothing of note transpired, only I got angry reading of the commissioner's course in our midst. Saturday 4th. Today is Florence's 18th birthday. She, Jen, and all the family of both houses, with the exception of myself and Mother Kravitz, have gone to the theater. I've cleaned my room and seen what has come from Springville. Near morning I dreamed that one part of my house, not this one, but some other place, was rented to Lawyer Hempstead's family, where it seemest were some of the commissioners or men who had, April 1885, been active in these raids against the Mormon polygamists, and also some of the first presidency who appeared to have got these officials into their power. Two or more of the latter were sitting to a table and were looking into the books or accounts at the dictation of President Taylor, and they appeared very lamb-like, as though they feared to do any other way. All was done in a quiet manner, and nothing did I hear said. They will be just in that plight when they've run their race. The Lord gave me this dream to comfort me, as my feelings were very much wrought upon last evening, thinking over the course now being taken by these devils incarnate, and wondering how long we would have to be scourged before this people would be able to come to an understanding and turn from their evil ways to the Lord. Sunday 5th. I spent at home in prayer and reading. At evening, my bro Sam Kimball came to see us and stayed all night with Charlie. There was young company came and also stayed late so that I got to bed late. Orson came home from Provo at evening. Monday 6th. I laid in bed late, but did not sleep any. Juliet Croxwell came to see me today and brought a pair of knit slippers which she had made and got sold for me. She stayed a while I was writing and laid it away till she went, then went at my article again. Tuesday 7th. I felt very badly this morning in mind, but concluded to go to Fox and Simon's to set for my photo. Did so walking there and returning on streetcar. Stopped at X off. Found Sister Priscinda K. There left a postal card with M, which I'd received from Mr. Beard. Just as I started out in the morning, I was completely tired out before I got back. Afternoon received good visit from bro Joseph Kimball, which cheered my heart. Sat up late trying to finish my article. I have also read President Taylor's epistle to the conference, or the saints and his protest. Thankful for it. A couple of nights ago I had a peculiar dream. There appeared in the northern and the southern skies a great light, like the heavens were being illuminated by some supernatural power. I thought the humble and those who were ready were gathering and preparing for some very great manifestation on behalf of God and people. I had another dream, which signified an extravagant mess of imaginary evils, made out of whole cloth, which I witnessed the interpretation of this morning. It was too thin. It seemed that a black lawn dress had been cut out and made for Florence, but it was so large that there was no fit to it. One of the first presidency who seemed to concern himself in all such domestic matters, inquired of me the meaning of so much more cloth being used than was necessary. I felt so annoyed about it that I tried the dress on to see if it would fit me, and thought that that would answer all purposes, but when I tried it on, it came no nearer fitting me, it being 1/4 of a yard too long and too large every way. So I laid it off. Evil to those who evil think. The coat didn't fit the ones that it was intended for. Some become so radical that they think everyone is out of the way that don't fall in with their own judgment. If I'd done the half that has been required, I'd send my children to the devil, just where they used to say I would, if I didn't deal gently with them. And now I'm too gentle to suit them, but I've had to learn what they will have to by experience, that we can't drive anyone to heaven, but the opposite we can do in double quick time. Wednesday 8th. A sleepless night. Never slept till nearly morning for my troubled thoughts. I've offered up many a prayer since yesterday, and the Lord has satisfied my troubled and anxious heart. Rained much of the night and still cloudy. Thursday 9th. Felt very feeble this morning. Helen, Lily and baby came home and spent the day. George took dinner here. Zini returned from Provo with children. We all went to see patients. I enjoyed it. Tolerably. Charlie and I went together and got a good place. Friday 10th. I couldn't get to sleep for a long time after I went to bed. Feel very badly. In consequence, a young Mr. Lewis from Mesa called here with a check for Gus to get his things, which he has brought from Mesa and left at the depot. Saturday 11th. Jen cleaned my rooms instead of myself. Quite a relief. Mrs. L. Crandall bought her 3 little girls to see me. She had wished me to take the 2 eldest. One 11, the other 7 years old. Ida, the little one, was bound to stay, but Anna felt so badly. I told her mother to not insist. When they left, the other began to cry and was bent upon going home. I had to watch her and caught her going. I coaxed her to stay all night, and she could go home when her sister came up, as her mother said she would in a day or 2. From that she quieted down, and we gave her some playthings when all seemed right. Sunday 12th. I went to meeting at Tabernacle. Had a splendid meeting. Delegate John T. Kane spoke, then John Henry Smith. I felt paid for going and better in body than when I started. There was an enthusiasm which was felt throughout the congregation, especially when the choir struck up the hymn, On the Mountains High, very appropriate to the occasion. Monday 13th, was up late and couldn't sleep till long after I retired. Feel the affects raining hard this morning. Zine's baby cried much through the night, and they got but little sleep. I've spent the day in writing, rainy and dismal without. Wednesday 15, still raining when I got up. The little girl, Ida, asked the privilege of going home, as she'd seen a man, who was neighbor to her mother, to go with. I told her she could, but her mother, thinking she'd run away, sent her back by her sister, Anna. I felt tenderly towards the child, as her own mother wants to give her 3 remaining children away, but I prefer Anna, she being older. I could not, in conscience, refuse to take Ida when she wanted to stay. Poor children. Anna said she thought she'd come Monday next, but she'd rather stay with her cruel mother to want to part with her children. Orson gave me $37 and 90 cents today and Mary $50. What was remaining of the 100? That was found in Horace's desk, after paying our bill at Co-op out of it. Thursday 16th. Slept good after soaking my feet in warm water. In the afternoon went into Mary Kay's and spent an hour or two, then up to Vicaius, and to Phoebe's. The latter was gone out. I felt blue to see the place, it looked so lonesome. I called in to see the miller's wife living in part of my mother's north wing. Desolate and lonely it was to me. Ma's buttery and bedroom were turned into one, which is rented to the miller's family. Friday 17th. Spent writing. Troublous times are these, are people hunted down like beasts of prey by devils in human shape. I sat up late to write article. Saturday 18th. Spent a horrible night, could not sleep. I learned that cousin Anna Kimball is among the arrivals at Walker's. She professes to be a mind reader. I'm not particular about calling on her. Anna, the daughter of Mrs. Crandall, has come to stop with us. I concluded that I could not keep Ida, so sent her home this morning. Today the sun shines. Sunday 19th. Dismal and rainy part of the day. George, Helen, Lily and baby came to spend the afternoon. Orson and I have spent the forenoon writing in my parlor. Lucy W. Kimball came to stop all night. Zine left the baby with us and went to evening meeting. A room full of young company gathered in my parlor, singing music and chatting till late. I read to Lucy in Life of Brigham Young's. Monday 20th. Last night, about 4 o'clock, Mary came up for some brandy, thought her mother dying. Lucy and I dressed and went down. Orson was called to administer to her. She was in an awful state, rattling in her throat. She soon got relief. The cause is thought to be wind. I came home, and Lucy stayed there. I felt terribly this morning, head dizzy and sick, heart palpitating from my sleep being broken up. Raining as usual. Orson met cousin Anna at Tabernacle after he had preached a sermon. Tuesday 21st afternoon. Cousin Anna Kimball called to see me, accompanied by Dr. Cheney, with whom she is traveling. They were shown to my room by Orson. They are spiritualists, and he lectured on spiritualism at the Walker Opera House. They remain a week or more to practice their seances with another lady. Wednesday 22nd. Spent at home writing, and also Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. This day Orson came home sick from a cold. I have slept so little nights, am feeling poorly. Flawed has been sick. Helen and baby were here this afternoon. Sunday 26th. Read papers and copied some. And toward night concluded to call on Anna Kimball. When I'd walked to where she was stopping opposite Walker's Hotel, found her door locked, hung a package containing 2 exponents and my last pamphlet on the knob, and walked downstairs and back home. Thought I'd done my last walking for one long time. She had invited the girls when they called on her last week to attend the lecture last evening. Flawed went with H. Dinwiddie and sat in the box with cousin, who informed them that she found the package on her door and that they had gone over to Walker's to dinner. When I called, apologized for not calling on me again, as she'd intended to. Said she'd read my book and send it to her mother. She was to leave for the West today. No spiritualism for me of that kind. Monday 27th. Jen has taken the things out of my room and cleaned it, and cleaned the cellar with little Anna's help. Her health has improved wonderfully since she began taking Warner's Safe Cure. A Gentile lady came here, agent for electric straps, etc. She sat quite a while and said she'd been deeply interested in my history at the time, when I was troubled with evil spirits on the journey here. She believed somewhat in spiritualism, she said, which introduced the subject. I told her she'd enjoy more light in spiritual matters if she'd accept of this gospel. In the afternoon, Mary Ellen Kimball brought Sister Tuttle, who is from VA, to see me. She told me of Hiram Kimball and others of father's boys. H. had lived with them, said he was very sick and he came near dying in Virginia with scarlet fever and pneumonia. Near night, I called up to Carl Young's and paid $5.05 owing him for milk. Called at John Henry Kimball's, also at Lyda Thatcher's, met Edward Partridge and Sarah, his wife, just returned from the islands, had quite an interesting chat with them. Tuesday 28th. The girls took the things out of the parlor and cleaned it today. Br Lamborn papered my bedroom anew. It cost me $7.50 CTS. Wednesday 29th. Rainy day has somewhat hindered our work. Flawed washed today. Jenny has spent the day cleaning the house. Thursday 30th. Felt poorly in the morning, but went to work with the girls. We first whipped and cleaned my parlor carpet, then ripped it and turned the sides into the center and put it down. Looks fine, but I was done over completely. Jen has arranged the room and worked hard all day. My article, History Repeats Itself, came out in the Deseret News today. Or a part of it. Friday, May 1st. I went to work cleaning pictures and furniture. But Helen, Lily, and baby came, so I cleaned up and rested. Afternoon went with Helen down to Co-op to get Lily's dress stuff. She is to remain at home tonight. Feels badly, is homesick to go back to Helen. Conference commenced today. Lovely weather. Saturday 2nd, I attended conference in the morning, had a good time, and mass meeting afternoon, which was perfectly grand. I only wish the world could been within the sound of it, to show them whether or no the Mormons are a sincere and a united people, and determined to claim their rights, also to prove true to their God and their country. Helen and Jen were with the choir. It was a pleasure to me to see them there. Sunday 3rd, attended conference all day. Though exhausted, I rested and went to hear Angus Cannon in the evening, which is to be his last, as his sentence will be imprisonment for the crime of marrying the woman he cohabits with. Golding Kimball called to see us, also Helen Violet Kimball, who have just returned from the States. Golding spoke at the Assembly Hall this morning. Lucy Kimball, I met and invited her to come home with me and remain all night so to attend the evening meeting. Monday 4th. I spent rubbing my furniture toward night, came up a thunder shower, and hailed a little. Jen went last night to Helen's, and she with Lily have gone to Mrs. Grew's to get dresses fitted. I have given the 3 girls new dresses. Lily, Jen, and flawed Emmeline Wells came to tell me that I'm expected to attend ladies' conference tomorrow at the 17th Ward. Tuesday 5th, did a little more rubbing of furniture, took the streetcar, and went to conference, had a good meeting, but was tired out completely. Wednesday 6th, done up 6 packages of papers for the States. Called to see Christine Kimball down from the north, found Golding sick. Orson is also sick from cold. Helen and baby came up. She brought me a work bag for a present made by herself. Flawed has done the washing today and Jen cooked. Thursday 7th. I fasted. Being fast day, Orson feels real poorly and Charlie is sick, so he stayed at home. I went into the TO Tuesday and asked Joseph Kingsbury if there was any better position for my Charlie, and he informed me that he'd spoken of his taking the position of clerk in the TO cellar. And if he had the power, he'd have it very quick. Promised to use his influence with BP Preston. Friday 8th, went up to Charlie Kimball's and called at Phoebe's on the way, came home and wrote a letter to Brother Solomon. Or part of one. Saturday 9th, sewed all day fixing Genny's new dress and making over some stockings, had a heavy storm today. Sunday 01th, attended meeting. Orson preached a splendid sermon, went from there to see Ella Decker, spent a while and returned home to write a little more to Soul. Monday 11th, spent in sewing. Lovely day. I'm something troubled over the prospects, still the Lord has never forsaken me nor mine. I've paid a man $100.50 for cutting the grass on my front lawn. Tuesday 12th. I was forced to rise early by a hard coughing spell. Jenny is doing the kitchen work this week. Dreamed of having a dead child and was required to sever its limbs from the body, took a knife to do it. The horror of it caused me to throw the knife from me and cover my face with my hands, in anguish at the thought of so cruel an act. The head someone else had taken, I could not tell who. Wednesday 13th. Rainy and cold, have copied my 3D article for the news. And finished my shimmy. My back worse today from kidney affection. The interpretation of my dream has been shown me. The body of my child represents my household. The head that had been taken represents my husband. The severing of the limbs from the body is the separating of myself and children, and which I refuse to have a hand in. If there is such a thing, it will be of their own choosing. But as the act was not committed, I take it that my family, at least the girls and Charlie, will not be taken from me at present. I believe I am going to pass through a severe trial in my worldly prospects, but will all come out right in the end. Friday 15th, yesterday rainy and wash day. The girls have taken up kitchen carpet and preparing for whitewashing tomorrow, weather cold. Harriet Kimball and her son Jean arrived this morning from Meadowville. I've sewed a breadth of kitchen carpet on and helped to clean another for Charlie's room. Mary and folks are getting up a party in partnership with Clarence Talbot. Helen and Lily came up with the baby to attend it this evening. Saturday 16th, rainy and cold, all are tired out. We put the carpet down and got a stove put up in dining room. We appreciate it. Mrs. Talbot sent me some of the cake left of the party. Sunday 17th, remained at home reading, writing, and see. Monday, Tuesday are past, have overdone and took cold, feel poorly from the same. The weather rainy and cold. Wednesday 20th, tired myself out working in the morning, laid down and rested, all the family gone, but flawed she not well. Towards night, I went to X off. For my papers, walked down to Helen's, she and Lily surprised and pleased to see me. Jen had been there and gone. Thursday 21st, cloudy and rainy. I was taken sick after dinner, cramping in bowels, got relief after taking 3 different medicines, intended coming home, but this prevented me and Lily wanted me to stay. Helen went to a party this same evening and left the baby home with us. Lily adores it. Friday 22nd. Felt the pain coming on and came home in the morning instead of waiting for the girls who came afterwards, and spent the afternoon. I stopped at Juvenile off and paid Abram Cannon $25 in gold towards what I owe him for printing pamphlet. Called at BP Preston's off to procure a man to work my garden, but did not find one. Felt very sick all the day and went to bed in my room to get out of the noise. Lily brought me some bread and butter with composition tea, the latter for which I sent Anna to drug store to buy. My pain somewhat relieved toward night by bowels running. I took 20 drops laudanum in oil before retiring. Harriet staying here with me. I gave her a pair of my glasses, which suited her eyes better than her own. She has done more for us, has given us a lot of eggs and also some butter which she brought from home. Her Jean is here staying with Charlie, is a splendid boy. Saturday 23d. Slept good, remained on bed most of forenoon, griped when I stirred. Got up and took another dose of laudanum in oil. After a while went upstairs to bed, where I spent most of the afternoon. Pain comes on every time I move or get up. Helen and with baby came up to see how I was. Said Lily cried last night because I was sick, and she felt lonesome. I came downstairs, was much better at evening. Took Zine's baby twice and got it to sleep while she was gone with Orson to see a sick woman, brother Patrick's daughter. Sunday 24th, beautiful day. Still gripe some and physiqued. Felt so sick. Zina fixed a dose of castor oil and turpentine, took it, pain removed, and I felt better than I had before, but feel very weak. Sunday 31st. A week has passed and was wound up by our all going to the theater to witness the musical comedy OHC Charlie and LOL. Taking part. Harriet and son has spent most of the week with us. Start for home tomorrow. Lily came up yesterday to attend matinee with Anna, stayed all night with Anna. I cut the latter's hair off before going, had worked hard, cleaned my room, and covered a parasol. Flawed gone to Provo with Henry Dinwiddie to spend decoration day. Will stop at Bro. Smoots till tomorrow. I went yesterday to see BP Preston to get a small order for meat and provisions, as Charlie's had run out. Our expenses have been so big the past month. He gave me more than I asked for, $6 for meat and provisions. I have done up several packages of papers, enclosed many scraps therein to send to the Gentiles. Wrote a letter to Soul's wife, tired out as though I'd done a hard day's work. Monday, June 1st. Not well today. Charlie brought home a few strawberries, and we had strawberry shortcake. For dinner he brought some potatoes, which BP Preston promised me, if I'd send for them, we could not find them in market. He said these were given to him, and he did not need them, as I was welcome to them, free of charge. I forgot to mention receiving a paper last week from a lawyer and containing an article written by him on the imprisonment of A.M. Cannon, whom he had once met and interviewed, when in this city, sent an article to M for publication. Tuesday 2nd. Looked over old accounts of Horace's and found one old letter of mine to him and scores of notes sent him by the family, mostly written by Mary's M. for order and money, etc., etc. Attended ladies' conference in 12th Ward. We took supper at Sister Savage's, and I went with Sister Richards to call on her husband's mother. Went to see Orson's house, where they move tomorrow. Nice place. Attended young ladies' conference at evening. Had a pleasant time, only marred by my feeling poorly in body. Came home in a carriage, sent to take Sister E.R.S. Smith, Sister Horn, Sister Rachel Grant, and myself. Found Jen and the rest in bed. Was 10 o'clock. Wednesday 3d. Found Xena sick this morning, but she took some medicine and felt better. They've moved most of their things. Charlie got a team to move them. Flawed has gone to live with them. They have left quite a vacancy. I miss baby much, whom I got to love very dearly. Jen has done quite a washing today. I feared to have her undertake it, but she has stood it wonderfully well. A curious-looking man with long hair called and inquired for Orson. Thursday 4th. I fasted after dinner, took streetcar, and went to Dunbar's store to be registered. From there to Orson's, found them hard at work. I was tired out after resting, went to see Sister Sloane, who would not allow me to go home till dark. Took supper, feasted on beef soup and strawberries for dessert. A daughter of B.P. Preston's came with a buggy, just as I was ready to come home, and told the driver to take me home, for which I was grateful. Sister Sloane is in a critical state. I forgot to mention John Whitney's coming here yesterday. With horse and carriage, he took me a ride. We went up to Orson's and back, then he took Jen a ride. He was in high spirits as usual. Friday 5th. Got a can of paint from George Bourne at Co-op to paint my mosquito wire doors and windows. Done part of them. Wrote an answer to a letter from Norman Taylor. Paid the ball of $9.55 on carpet at Co-op on the 3D, which took all I had saved from my book money, except enough to pay Dr. Park for Flawed's tuition the past winter. Saturday 6. Charlie brought me over $40 last night, mostly in orders, and today I paid $25.50, which we were owing. Felt blue over our prospects. Am still owing $10 to the milkman. 2.0050 more to dressmaker. 2.00 more to Noyce. 4.0050 to Hardy Bros, which would leave us without a thing to live on through this month. I had to go though the T.O. and get Joseph Kingsbury to ask for a $5.50 CTS order for the whitewasher, as I had not got that amount in TO order. I waited some time and got a chance to speak to B.P. Burton about taking a cupboard and stand from me and giving me an order for provisions. He said he didn't want to have me part with them if I needed them. I told him I could spare them, and prepared to do it, as I wished to pay for what I had. I asked him and Bro Joseph to look out for some good, respectable lodger to take my parlor, which they said they would do. Robert spoke of the Whitney estate. From that, I told him I expected nothing, as the prospects were at present the chances having passed to sell the homestead. I'm relieved to have as much paid up as has been today. Of all things, I want to be out of debt, and hope to be able, hereafter, to live within our income, instead of beyond it, as we have done every month, in spite of me. Helen and Lily, with baby, came up today, found me painting. Samira Wood came up from Springville, spent the afternoon, and returned to the hotel where her husband is stopping. Helen brought some strawberries, but we'd been to dinner, so they set the table for themselves. Anna got some to the TO for tomorrow. They are 15 CTS a quart. Sunday 7th. Still cold and cloudy weather, but peace reigns within my habitation. Would that it might continue to, and increase, in the midst of us as a PO. Mon 8th. Jen cleaned the east room, bedroom and hall, and carpeted the two latter. Smart day's work for her. Friday 12th. We have accomplished a hard task. I ripped my big carpet and turned the worst of it to the outside, mended the holes, and put it down. Was perfectly used up, and nearly sick last night. I have hired a woman to clean the porches and outhouses. A big wash done yesterday by Desi, Jen helping, and then cleaning up crocks, etc. in the shanty. I wrote 2 letters during the time, to Mr. Russell, in Allah, and to Mr. Taylor. Sent off several packages of papers. Also received a letter from Seoul. Was so tired last night, could not sleep for a time. When I got rested, slept good. We had a terrible hailstorm during the day. Beautiful this morning. We have lots of strawberries this year from the TO. Shall preserve some. Helen, baby, and Lily came this morning and spent the day. Flawed came also to spend the day. We enjoyed their coming. I made 2 or 3 aprons, gave Lil one, which I made, cut out one for Jen and Flawed. Everybody at Mary's went to the circus at evening. Saturday 13th. Worked myself sick, took up bedroom and hall carpets, stretched them and tacked them down, cleaned things outside and in, till I was used up completely. Jen finished ironing today. Anna gone to see her ma. Sunday 14th. Spent a miserable night, so tired out. Afternoon. Walked up to Orson's, took a rest at Sister Sloane's, being exhausted before I got there. Called on Sister Jane Young, living a few steps from Orson's house. Jen and Charlie were invited to dinner with myself. We enjoyed a feast. George, Helen, and Lily and baby came also. From there I went to evening meeting at chapel and took Lil with me and called at Bud's on the way home with his mother and Mrs. Talbot. Bro, George Lambert and a Danish bro preached on the way down the steep hill. Bro, George helped Lily down. I done a marvelous thing for me and hope to be able to walk up there frequently to meeting, but I was worse for it at night. Monday 15th. Never slept till after 12 o'clock, felt rather poorly this morning. Lily stayed all night with us. I cut and worked on a lawn dress for Anna and commenced a lace cap for Mother Kravith to send to her. Tuesday 16th. Had a good night's sleep, worked till tired. Afternoon went down street to do some errands. Charlie went to work on the road today and took his dinner, came home tired and lame. Phoebe Kimball called at evening. Jen picked currants and made jelly and preserves of them. I read an item from Sol's last letter concerning David's daughter, Loa. Wednesday 17th, worked hard at Anne's dress and finished Sister Kravith's cap. Jen moved Pa's library back into the east room, replaced the books. Thursday 18th, felt unwell this morning. I sewed hard half the day then, for a change, went to work sorting papers and letters and Horace's to the secretary drawers. Many forgotten scenes and incidents have been recalled by the notes and letters, which I found, that were written years ago by him and his old friends, connections, and chums of the long ago. Friday 19th, Charlie goes every day to work on the road, taking his dinner, finished looking over Horace's papers. Have had an interesting time all to myself and have had peculiar feelings. Found letters from our brothers W.M. and Charlie Kimball Orson and Joshua Whitney. 2 from my father to H. Some from mother to me, and many others, which I read over till my eyes were tired out. In the midst of it received callers. Bro Willis came with Mr. Joshi, an East Indian, who brought me a letter of introduction from my cousin, Anna Kimball. In Cal his dress was English, but his head was sheared, and a turban of fine silk wound around his head. His face is handsome, looks like our racy, which I told him, and showed him his picture, which he thought fine-looking. He lectures in Hall night. I was requested by Anna to be sure and have him see Orson, so sent him the letter to read. Saturday 20. Worked hard all day. Helen, Lily, and baby came and took dinner and spent the afternoon. We've abounded in strawberries. Vlad happened to come and ate with us. She looked sick, said she was so tired out. Orson lectures this evening in 14th Ward. I am too tired to go. Have hung the lace curtains and mosquito bars this afternoon. The house is all straight Ned now, and my peace and gratitude is unbounded. Would that I could continue to enjoy my home without renting. Maybe I can, the Lord grant it. Joseph Kingsbury called to see the stove, which I want to sell. I told him how we were in want of money or store pay, promised to help me to orders. A sister from Vernon called on me. I got her to take some of my pamphlets back with her. She promised to do her best in the way of selling them. Must take my bath. Sunday 21st, spent at home, all the rest having gone out. Charlie tells me Orson preached this afternoon. Joseph and his brother, Smith, have come to Salt Lake to stay the summer. I understand, expecting to overthrow and scatter the Utah Saints, no doubt. Could they but see their own folly, they would hide themselves for very shame. I gave Mr. Joshi, the East Indian gentleman, one of my last books on plural marriage. Brother Willis proposed for me to write in it, so he said he'd leave it and call again, so I wrote in it today. That you may be guided by the candle of God while journeying over the hills of time is the sincere prayer of the author. My girl, Anna, commenced today to attend Sunday school in this, the 18th Ward. Monday 22nd. Cool, commenced raining, so I had to give up going to ladies' meeting in 16th Ward. Felt sorry, as I received such an urgent invitation to attend, but my cold is too bad to expose myself needlessly to take more. A small company gathered here at eve by invitation to entertain Miss Pomeroy, with whom Charlie became acquainted at Mesa. She is a fine young lady and very attractive, particularly to Charlie. Clarence T. proposed to furnish ice cream to add to Jen's cake, which was good in him. Helen, Lil, and George were here, and everything passed off pleasantly. Florence was not able to be here, had to stay with Zena's baby for her to go to the theater. Tuesday 23d. Feel badly for being up late, have finished and sent copy to ex-office. Mailed 6 packages of papers to the States. Flawed came to say that Zena wished me, Mary, Mrs. Talbot, to go there to dinner tomorrow. Wednesday 24th, Orson called this morning to know if we would as soon come there Friday, as Bud's wife and sisters had sent word they were to visit there today. It suited us all round. I have written some and done some sewing. Thursday 25th, Helen and Lily came with baby, spent the day. We worked all day on a lawn dress for Lily, bought for her by Helen. I felt very unwell this morning, have not slept enough for 2 nights, have had headache and rheumatism in my shoulders. We had a terrible shock yesterday morning by the frightful death of Father Ensign, who fell from the temple wall. Sister Free is also dead. Zena Wood came from Springville yesterday to spend a few days here. Friday 26. Slept good and feel better. Zena Wood took Jen to theater last eve. I invited her to go with me to Orson's to see Flawed. We had a pleasant visit. Orson took up guitar and sang on the bridge at midnight. Flawed was glad to see Miss W, but Z. Don't like her was sorry after I'd invited her to go there, that I'd done so, but thought she ought to have the privilege of seeing Florence. The latter looks pale and thin. Wish it was so she could stay at home with me, but so it is. I called it D. News off. Brother Nicholson gave me 6 copies that has Orson's lecture, and I saw the hearse containing the remains of Brother Ensign, 3 of his brother workmen on each side, dressed in black crape on each arm, and carriages following on the way to the assembly hall. Took streetcar and went to Orson's, who had attended Sister Free's funeral and was going to Brother Ensign's. I walked home and enjoyed it, as I saw so many pretty homes, never having been up in that part of the town to speak of. To know who lived there, met Sister Barton, who informed me which house was hers. When passing Sister Powell's by the chapel, she saw me and invited me to walk in and rest me. I wasn't tired, but accepted her invitation, and she showed me her home inside and out, which was very fine indeed. I met Ellen Clausen on my way home, who asked me to call into her home, but declined. Home is home, be it ever so homely, and I was glad to find peace, which is better than riches without it. Saturday 27. Pleasant and quiet day. Wrote a line to Joseph K. Done up several packages of papers to send to Gentiles. Done some mending. Jen has cleaned the rooms, with Anna's help, and done the ironing today. All pleasant. Helen called towards night with baby. Sunday 28th. Spent at home writing and reading. Nothing of note occurred. Monday 29. Wrote some, and worked to get my copy for DN to suit me. Flotty and Henry called toward evening. I forgot to mention Sister M. Hyde's calling to invite me to her house, Tuesday, to her birthday party. She is 70 years old. Sunday was her birthday. Tuesday 30th. Anna went to Zena's to pick currants given us to put up. Wrote in the forenoon a little. Have had the rheumatism in my shoulders and back since Monday. Took cold, took off my flannel, feel sick. Went to Relief Society meeting an hour, took 4 pamphlets for donation, had nothing else. Felt so bad, returned home and had liniment rubbed on me, then went to Sister Hyde's where quite a party celebrated her natal day, had a feast, and a few sisters spoke at evening. I felt better. Wednesday, July 1st. Jen washed today. Thursday 2nd. I learned through Sister Kempton, who followed Anna home at evening, that she'd stolen from her house and was caught, and some things recovered. Friday 3D. Lily, Helen, and Ella Decker came to spend the day. Deck and George came to dinner. The letter gave me $4.50 received for my books, which his aunt sold at Farmington. Helen and I nearly finished Lily's dress. I talked like a mother last night to Anna, and she seemed repentant and promised to do better. I asked if she did not know the wickedness of stealing and lying. She said no, that no one had ever told her that it was. This morning when I asked her if she was sorry, she laid her head on my shoulder and looked sad and humbled, said she was sorry, and after I had asked her if she wanted to stay here, she promised to do better and to confess her sins and restore stolen articles to the owners, and seemed to be in earnest. I had told she couldn't stay here without she did and would be a different girl. Mrs. Kempton and I went upstairs last evening where Anna had gone, and she found a few of her articles there, and others she had disposed of or hidden and denied having them. I found 3 collars and other things which I took and put in my rooms. She declared they were given to her, one by our neighbor Sister Peyton, which I doubt, as she is a poor woman and not able to make presents. This is a sad affair. I wrote her mother, but concluded to wait a few days and try the girl. Charlie gave me $38 today. This will not serve us a month, as it has cost us $41 and some cents through June, and we've bought nothing but provisions, except one load of coal. $6 tomorrow is the grand 4th. Saturday 4th was kept away by firecrackers, and noisy boys and sad feelings woke early by firing of cannon. Thought it a clap of thunder. At first spent the day at home, finished Lily's dress, asked Charlie to get a ticket for Anna to go with Lil to matinee to try what indulgence would do to reform her. Charlie approved of it and said he would did so, and still she is a bad girl. This day will never be forgotten. There has been high words and nearly a battle between some of the Genties and Mormons, because the marshal took it into his head to hang our stars and stripes at half-mast to signify the loss of our liberty. That we had no cause to rejoice, but to mourn. Mary Kimball and Vic were the first ones in this quarter to notice it and inquired of us the meaning. Thought General Grant must be dead. I said, we are mourning for our liberty. When they said it was high treason, I told them I liked it, for it suited my feelings when I was given to understand that we couldn't trifle with the laws of the United States, and the Mormons would find they'd have to submit and also repent of their sins. I said, ditto. When Mary said, I have repented, I said I was glad to hear it. When the curtain dropped, I was tolerably warmed up to hear one who feeds upon the Tribune's lies and shuts the door of salvation in their own face, laying down the law to me. I did not know the cause of the half-mast till after I had expressed my own feelings, and I haven't changed them. I said to Mary W., who thought it awfully foolish, that if there'd got to be a collision, it might as well be this year as to wait 5. It is time for us to show our colors. Sunday 5th. I spent at home. Jen enjoyed the meeting at Tabernacle. I dreamed of spending a night in President B. Young's room, or the one, it seemed, which he used to occupy. I had arisen from bed in the morning, and I had on a dress that had the appearance of lawn, and when I got out of bed it was so worn that large portions were entirely gone and hardly held together. My tabernacle, I presume, I thought, when looking at the garment, that I should be forced to lay it off and get a new one. Monday 6th. I have found Anna to be a hard case, no repentance, and I wrote another sheet to her mother, saying I could not keep her, and I considered she'd acted like anything but a friend in imposing such a child upon me. The devil is at work through his agents, the Tribune, and no, pitch hot, to boil us up and make an end of Mormons. Anna has just received a letter from her mother, informing her she was to be in town the 24th, wanted her to go to her old place to do an errand. I told her she could go and stay overnight and visit, and that I felt very, very sad over the way she'd turned out. Tuesday 7th. I have not enjoyed a good night's sleep since hearing of Anna's dishonesty. A rash has come out on me, and the itching is intolerable, like needles pricking my skin. Wednesday 8th. Still afflicted, bad night, but try every day to write a little. Received a letter containing a lot of stamps from an old lady, Mrs. Knight, on Rock Island, to whom I sent papers, wants me to send more and to write her. Thursday 9th. I forgot to mention going Monday Eve to hear Mrs. Lockwood's lecture. Enjoyed it much. Went that afternoon and got the ticket at T. Oh, also went a co-op for sugar, etc. Hentai and baby came up today. I have had no good sleep or rest at night. Anna came this evening, said she'd stayed with a little girl who was sick and her mother gone in the country to work. I told her if she was wanted, she could take her clothes and stay there. She got some of them and before leaving asked if I wanted her to come back to live. I told her no, that I could not keep her any longer. Sister Peyton is here washing. Jen not able this week. Friday 10th. Helen and Lily came with the baby. George came at evening, gave me $4.50 received from Farmington for my books, which he sent to his aunt to sell. He and Helen go to a card party and leave baby with Lily and me. I feel terribly today for the lack of sleep. Was nervous all night and have decided that the cause of prickling in my body is the affect of the electricity in the soles that I bought in the winter to wear in my shoes. The itching has nearly ceased, but the feeling all over me is like what I felt when Dr. Russell operated with his battery. Saturday 11th. Never slept till after midnight, had no trouble with baby Lily taking the care, and she was good, only wakeful, but I felt the battery all through me. My arms feel heavy when taking a bath. The rubbing of my face and body made it more noticeable. The very roots of my hair feel it. I went to RS meeting afternoon in 14th Ward. Walked, had an excellent time, heard a sister speak in tongues, and the interpretation was given by another sister. The words and the whole was glorious, the language perfectly eloquent, and I know that the Lord gave it for the strengthening of the sisters. Lucy W. K. was there and came up to expound off. With me sat and chatted a while with Emmeline. Anna came for the rest of her things this evening. I feel tired and sleepy too. Helen cleaned the 2 parlors and the bedrooms thoroughly. Seems so good to have her home. They went home toward evening. Sunday 12th I slept good, but have taken cold, throat sore, and feel sick, laid down and had a deathly spell. The first, for a long time hoped I had got over them. Jen has been to meeting. Florence came down with the baby and Racy. She looks pale and thin, has been sick, she says. Monday 13th I was worse, throat and head bad, hope to be better, so to fill my engagement was invited Saturday to go to Granite on Thursday next, and to Big Cottonwood on the 22nd to attend ladies' conferences. Those terrible spells are threatening me. Tuesday 14. Took a pill last night, my head relieved. But neck and throat sore. Sister Clark from Farmington called with Emily Partridge Young to invite me to attend ladies' conference Friday at Kaysville. I have worked trying to get up an article on the half-mast, for all I feel so feeble. Bad spells increasing. Charlie has been under the weather too. Wednesday 15th I never slept till after the clock struck 12 and then, but a very little. Feel badly, and those deathly spells have got harder, and I feel so indignant that I set and take them without granting so far the thought of their returning after staying away so long. Florence was down yesterday, looks pale and thin. I mentioned our tightened circumstances to her, and she told Orson, so he came today and talked over matters. Said he would see BP Preston and have $10. Allowed me a month. I am to take some of my pamphlets to Granite. John Whitmer called this afternoon to say goodbye before he left for home, gave me 15 CTS for streetcar fare, and told me to ride and not walk. I promised him I would. Went to Helen's to be on hand in the morning. Thursday 16th. At depot on time. Soon Sister Howard came, but when the off was opened, we found we were to go to the D and R G. Being late, I told her to go ahead and not wait for me. I followed her and fast as my feet could carry me, but she got there and asked them to wait. When within half a block, my legs so shaky I felt it almost hopeless for me to try longer, when hearing a carriage looked and beheld Sister Taylor, who drove up and took me in, and in the words of our handsome Gove, we got thar, Al, but Sister Horn. Met Dr. Joseph Richards with his family on their way to Granite to leave them this summer. Arrived at our destination, which to my disappointment was this side the village. The country up there is quite picturesque, and I enjoyed the out. We were met by the BP wife and daughter, where we alighted from the car to take us across to his other home. The walk and fresh air, perfumed with flowers and herbage, with the falls of snow water flowing down in white foam from the mountains, was most refreshing after dinner. Who should drive up but Sister Horn, who had by some misunderstanding stopped off at the wrong place and got a brother to fetch her on in his wagon about 9 miles, and was weary and sunburnt. We were all amused at our peculiar experience. Enjoyed an excellent spirit at the meeting, and I felt much more freedom than usually. In answer to prayer, sold 3 of my pamphlets when starting for the track to take car just on the side hill. The whoop came off of one hind wheel. The side where I sat got out, and the wagon was no sooner moved out of the road than the wheel fell to pieces, and narrow escape. Brother Maxwell took us into his carriage, being too soon, waited some time for car when it came without steam. The wind was strong and bracing. Were taken a mile beyond the junction, and had the privilege of paying full fare and walking back in the heat to take our people's car, which took us half fare. We walked farther back than necessary. Were tired and thirsty, stopped and rested on a woman's porch, but the water being warm, waited till we returned 1/4 of a mile. While walking slowly on one of the narrow tracks, we heard the train behind, but no one seemed to think of its being so near, or of its being on the narrow gauge, and I trusted to them, and thought they were coming up with awful speed, when one looked behind her, and we found suddenly that it was within 3 or 4 rods of our heels, when we stepped off just in time to escape as the car whizzed past us. We thought still more that Providence was over us, and concluded this to be a day of strange events, which gave us food for considerable fun and much gratitude for our wonderful escapes and peculiar experiences. There was only money enough to pay half fare all the way, the sisters not knowing this fact, and it cost me $1.30 over, but Sister Taylor paid my extra sum on our return. I was very tired when arriving at Helen's. She was into Mrs. Paul's, where I went retired early, slept good till daybreak, was roused by noise of engine. After breakfast, started 7:45 for depot. Sister Horn soon came, enjoyed the ride to Kaysville. Waited a while at station when Sister Clark came from Farmington and took us to Sister Layton's, where we were met by her, gave us a warm welcome. After a lunch, went to conference, had an excellent time. I spoke with more ease and longer than usual, both there and at Granite. Took dinner at Sister Layton's, where a number of sisters were invited, held another good meeting. Afternoon, I was called first to speak. After asking an interest in their prayers, was lead to tell some of my experience, which appeared to interest my hearers. Appropriate hymns were sung. Was taken to Sister W.M.'s, the mother of Fanny Tom Kimball's wife, where I spent the night. Those bad spells increased and made me feel very sick some of the time. Saturday 18. Was so bad, had to go to bed a while in the forenoon, but went afternoon with Sister Williams to Layton's. Called at her husband's store, bought a wire hairbrush and package of Hires improved root beer. Was so poorly when I got to Sister Layton's, had to lay down after a while. Miss Smith, president of the Young Ladies Association of Kaysville, came for me to ride, per invitation, to see the header on her father's wheat field. The ride done me good. There came a rainstorm, but which only lasted a few minutes, and she turned the carriage around. I was a little fearful of taking cold as my left arm got slightly wet. I saw a number of headers working, something that I never saw before. This was my first intimate acquaintance with Miss Smith, and we became good friends during our ride, she and her mother having given me an invitation to their home. I spent that night with them and was highly entertained, had a good night's sleep. Sunday 19th, found me very weak in body. She took me to meeting at 11 o'clock, heard two young elders speak, who were just home from 2 years' attendance at Brigham Young Academy. From there I was taken to Sister Smith's. I enjoyed the 3 days spent there, although feeling so badly much of the time better than at any previous time when north of the city at conferences, felt less timidity in speaking, and made some warm friends. Sister Layton came to say goodbye and gave me $1 in silver to carry me home. Sister Horn had left me 60 CTS towards paying my passage, and Sister Layton Smith and Williams, when urging me to stay, said they would see that I got home. I walked to the station, Minnie Williams and Miss Layton accompanying me. We were too soon, and waited some time. When I offered Minnie the money to buy my ticket, she said she'd get it herself. I gave it to her though, and when the ticket was brought me, she gave me back the same amount in her own money, so what I'd paid on the other route out of my own pocket was more than made up to me. The Lord will reward those who labor for him. I was refreshed by the ride to the city, though I felt very badly, having had those dreadful spells every few minutes for that day, and the previous one. Lily came to meet me. Helen and George had gone to Dex. I felt so sick, went to bed when they came. I had such an inward fever for the whole week that I wanted to drink cold water continually. Monday 20, rested pretty good but commenced, as soon as I arose, to have deathly spells. Took the streetcar in the morning and came home. Called at Exponent office on the way to CM. About sending some of my pamphlets up to Kaysville. She promised to attend to it. I called at Co-op and got me a duster to wear when traveling, as it spoils my clothes, and I go on the 22 to South Cottonwood. Found my family well, Jen lonesome and glad to see me. Also Gus spent a sick day, was so bad afternoon, had to lay down. It seemed like those terrible spells would never let up. We were visited at evening by the teachers and prayed with us by my invitation. Tuesday 21st. AM better, but weak. The weather is very hot and oppressive. Home is the most comfortable spot on earth for me. Have read papers and sent several packages away. Wednesday 22nd. Was wakened in the night by a terrible windstorm without any rain. To my disappointment, laid awake a long time and feel the effects of it this morning. I go to Cottonwood today. Thursday 23d. Walked to M. Wells' house yesterday morning. My strength was hardly sufficient to take me there. Sister Horn, Taylor and myself were all that went. M could not go. Had a lovely ride down to Cottonwood. Took a rest and dinner at Sister Howard's, then rode to the meeting house to conference. I met Bro Hosea Stout, who attended meeting and spoke. We took supper at Sister Howard's and stayed till after 7 o'clock when we returned to the city. Today has been spent in trying to get an article ready for the paper. I went in the morning and took back my duster to Co-op, got a dress of black bunting instead, called into the TO. To see Joseph Kingsbury about taking my stove learned something that caused me to write a line to Orson saying that I had changed my mind about accepting help from the church and did not want him to say anything to BP Preston. General Grant is dead. This looks as though the Lord had overruled it. To hold our foes at bay now the flags can float half-mast without insult. The delectable Murray has ordered it. He and Dyke were the hotheads that cried, Mormon, treason on the 4th and stirred up this rumpus calling for the president to assist in wiping us out, and he has gratified them by ordering the assistance of armies to come be on hand tomorrow. Bow. Friday, 24th. A more quit day was never known in Utah. My Charlie got a conveyance at T.O. and took Mary, Mrs. Talbot, myself and Mamie and 2 or 3 more of Mary's children a long ride, first to the park, from there up through the Mt. Olivet, then to mouth of Parley's Canyon and back through Camp Douglas. Though I was feeling sick all the way, I felt better for the ride. After returning, than I had all day, had a poor night's sleep. I understand that our enemies here are in an awful rage, that their little scheme has flatted out. Too bad how they must suffer, poor creatures. Saturday, 25. This would been my husband's 62nd birthday had he lived. He entered this valley on the 25th with the pioneers, being sick with mountain fever at the time. I attended ladies' RS in the 14th ward. From there, went to call on Sarah Kimball, then to Helen's, found baby sick, and feeling unwell from want of sleep, came home on streetcar. Charlie gone to stay all night with W.M. Staines. Sunday, 26. Spent at home writing. Flawed went yesterday to Cannon with Dinwoody family. Monday, 27. Sister Frink came and wanted me to go to M. Piper's with her. I excused myself as I'd promised to get an article ready for M or for Exponent on the flag question, which I'm interested in more than in visiting. AM feeling poorly in body and am getting thin in flesh, so I'm told don't sleep enough nights. My mind can't let me rest. Tuesday, 28. Feel unwell. Went down street to X off and a store. Wednesday, 29. Gave Charlie $2 out of 5 given me by Orson. Have tried to write, but am unwell. Thursday, 30. Wrote the forenoon, went to co-op, got shirting for Charlie and coffee, spent all my cash, but 20 CTS called at X off. Met Sister Tyler. She was surprised to learn that I was Orson Whitney's mother. Received compliments from her and sistership on having such a son. Friday, 31. Last night we were kept awake by a young crowd on Mary's lawn, invited by LOL. Got frantic for want of sleep. Regular powwow lasted half the night. Lily, Helen, and baby came this morning. Spent the day. Was glad to see them. I've made Charlie a shirt, tired out, and laid it away before the buttons were on. Lovely breeze today. I met Jim Jack at M's yesterday. Brought Horace fresh before me. He thought so much of brother Jack and he of Horace. Saturday, August 1st. Felt feeble this morning, but cleaned my room up and tried to write some. Helen and baby called and stayed part of afternoon. Sunday, 2nd. Zena and baby and Racy came, and Orson, after meeting with Prayer Circle, and took dinner. Orson offered to assist me to go to Bear Lake on the excursion that goes this month. I don't think I'll go, as I'm not willing to, when I can't get money enough to pay for necessities of life. Sunday, 9th. Have spent a pleasant week. Much of my time has been spent writing. Had an occasional caller. Emmeline Wells came Wednesday to inform me that I was to go with Sister Horn and Sarah Kimball on Friday to Union and invited me to a surprise on Sister Dr. Pratt Saturday Eve, but I was too worn out from my jaunt to go. I went to vote on the 3D, walked back, called at Orson's on the way, was feeling very faint, and Zine gave me a glass of porter and I ate some bread. Felt better. Called on Sister Sloan, who was some better. Called to see Sister Kane and sat a while. Was dark when I got home. Thursday evening. Bro Christensen called just back from Tennessee, where he must return to be tried. Has been imprisoned for teaching polygamy, when the only thing he said about it was in reply to questions asked by the accuser. I wrote all that day and got ready and walked to Helen's, where I stayed that night. Never got to sleep till after 12 and awoke early, breakfasted, and went to depot. Met Sister Kimball and Horn, also Brother Christensen and his co-laborer, who was imprisoned with him. They were on their way home. Christensen took the car that we did to go home to Kenosh. There was a brother and his wife met us at Sandy, took us home with them to dinner. From there to Union, to ladies' conference, held 2 meetings. I spoke after noon. We took dinner at the president's. Sister Richards, who looks very feeble. The storm that had been brewing burst forth that afternoon in all its fury. We waited some time and it was only sprinkling when we started, but increased, and poured down till we got nearly to Sandy. The train was stopped at by bad washouts, and had to send to this place for a train to transfer passengers, etc., and we were obliged to stay there till they returned. We were hungry and went a short distance to the president of the RS of that place. She asked us to eat supper, and after staying a while she accompanied us to station, where we lingered till nearly midnight, weary and worn out for sleep and rest. A sister, who was also waiting for car, and had some blankets rolled up, invited us to lounge on the bench and bundles on them. We took turns, and got some rest. Had thought some of going back with the president, who asked us to stop the night, and take stage for Salt Lake in the morning, but we were glad to hear the whistle. Though the train was filled with passengers, we got seats, and arrived safe and sound. A little after 12 o'clock I went to George's, and spent the rest of the night. Came home about noon. Everybody, nearly, seemed to be going to the Grove, to see and hear the grand memorial services over the dead general, who, I hope, will be allowed to rest in his grave, now they've laid him there. Peace to his ashes. Lily has come home to stay. Helen goes to Farmington today to spend a few weeks. She called last evening to say goodbye. We have beautiful cool weather, and I feel refreshed from 2 nights' sleep. Wrote another article for the Exponent, a few reflections. Monday 10th. Did not finish my article till this morning. I took it to M. Went to co-op for coffee, returned home, copied part of my article on the half-masting on the 4th, went and took it to news office, to Bro Nicholson, asked him to sell me some stamps, gave him money, but he gave it back, and 10 cents worth of stamps. Went to co-op and got some gay calico for Charlie, some pants to play a nigger's part on the stage. Feel tired out, never got to sleep last night till midnight. Sunday 11th. Juliet came to make my bunting dress. I helped sew, was used up before dark, and went to bed. Finished a letter this morning to Brother Soul. While gone the other day, bro, Abram Cannon sent here and got 200 copies of my pamphlets to sell. I've taken cold and my lungs and cough bad. Wednesday 12. My cough better, put coal oil on my breast last night. Went to T.O. to exchange an order for one on some store, got $5 on Hardee's. Went to pay debt there, found we owed $6.65 and only paid $4. Brought $1 of it back to pay washwoman. Felt so badly when finding our bill bigger than I knew of. Couldn't keep the tears from gushing out. AM owing at co-op, and 7.50 taxes has come in, and no way to get money done. Some sewing on my dress. Afternoon. Helen Violet came in a while with Belle's baby. She gets no rest. It is so troublesome. My throat is worse. Lily working and cleaning, has tidied up dining room and Charlie's. Besides washing dishes and getting dinner, Flawed has returned home from Canon. Thursday 13th. Juliet came to finish the dress. I worked so hard, felt nearly sick last night, and retired early. Have worked hard today helping at my dress, and used up again at evening. Flawed gone to stop with singers, careless, intending to give a concert. Friday 14th. Towards morning dreamed of being with Horace and Lucy. Had been living on the hill at father's and came down here to stop. It seemed to be my old house with a small addition at the back, a foot or two lower than the other, which was occupied by Lucy B. Whitney, who had a babe and some young boy in the same room. Horace was in the front room, where I took up my abode with my babe, which I seemed to have with me. I have done a little more at my dress, which is finished all but braid on the skirt I sent, and got some currant wine at T.O. Let Juliet have a quart for 50 CTS. Having heard that my sister Rosalia's eldest boy has died of diphtheria, I wrote her a consoling letter today. Saturday 15th. Put braid on my skirt, went to X off. Also to co-op, got some stockings. Weather frightfully hot. Jen got more wine at T.O. My article came out in the extra of this evening's news, headed Expressions from the People. The High, Sunday 16th. I attended meeting at Tabernacle. Brother Fotheringham preached an historical sermon, was deeply interesting, closed with a short description of his life experience in prison, with the brethren said they were well, and feeling well in mind. Florence was stopping with us, but Zini and children returned from Provo, and she had to go up there. Orson returned from the north this evening, called here. I gave him a $4 order in exchange for silver, owed him $2. And he gave me 2 more. Monday 17th. The weather is terribly warm. I learned that that boy of Rosalia's had got well instead of being dead, and that her second one has died since. Finished a copy for Exponent. George Bourne came up to dinner. He was at Farmington yesterday, found Helen and baby well. Commenced being bad in my bowels. This morning makes me feel sick. Wrote a line to bro. Nicholson by Clark to send me a few numbers of D. News. He sent me 7 numbers. Tuesday 18th. Was very sick through the night. Took a chill when going to bed. At dusk. Had a high fever and pain in my head all night. Was up a number of times. Bowels so bad, but slept all the rest of the time. Jen brought me some coffee and toast after eating. Slept again late in the forenoon. Bro. Frink came for me to take me home with him. I was still in bed, but thinking the ride would help me, and he said he'd come back in an hour, so I took a bath and dressed. Was nearly ready when he came. The ride was refreshing and I felt better. His brother and wife from Ohio are here on a visit. They are filled with prejudice against this people and want to hear nothing of them or Mormonism, but Mrs. Frink had to hear considerable as Sister Angie Frink would talk to me, and I think she'll go away wiser than when she came. I had to lay down some and slept. Wednesday 19th. Did not feel so well. Slept poorly, in consequence of mosquitoes. Expected to return home, but Angie insisted upon my remaining as she had invited Sister Peering to visit. I was feeling so badly, had to lay down more than the day before. Still, we had a pleasant visit. They churned and I lived on buttermilk. My thirst was intolerable, such an inward fever. Thursday 20th. Slept good, and felt better for it. Came home this forenoon. Flawed called. She's tired of working away from home and getting so little for it, that she has to run in debt for shoes, etc. That she's obliged to have cousin Anna Kimball sent her and myself the Gnostic. No. 2 published and edited by Mr. George Charning, and herself Anna at Oakland, Cal. Friday 21st. I am far from well, but went down to Exponent office and that of D. News to get bro. Nicholson to correct a mistake in my last article. The word it's substituted for there made it annoying. He again told me to come to him whenever I wanted any papers or anything there. He had taken my copy to the printer to show the mistake, and when I asked him if I could have another in place of it, he said certainly, and went and brought 3 instead. I came home feeling very tired and feeble-rested and wrote postal card to Helen. Saturday 22nd. My 57th birthday, and an uneventful one, with the exception of a thunderstorm which shook the earth and made my chair quiver, as well as my nerves. I laid awake some time this morning, then went to sleep after daybreak. Was in a temple with 2 or 3 women and 1 brother, don't remember who they were. There were a pair of my father's slippers there, which I was to wear, but when starting with them to go upstairs, I stopped to take the right one off, as a chunk of something was in it which impeded my steps. I got it out and walked on. I thought at first that I should not be able to wear them, but they seemed to fit me almost as well as my own. After I started again, which gave me considerable satisfaction, as I appeared to have no others with me to wear. At the foot of the stairs there was a window, and we saw people who were just dismissed from a meeting in an adjoining grove, passing so near that I stepped back and cautioned the others about letting themselves be seen when I awoke. There is a signification to my dream, but what I don't know. Commenced a letter to Bro Abe. Sunday 23rd. Florence called last eve and told us that Racy was sick with sore throat. The weather is very much changed, cloudy and cool. Attended meeting at Tabernacle. Bro Arthur Stainer and Apostle John Taylor gave each an interesting discourse. We've had a terrible wind and rainstorm since meeting, with thunder and lightning. Toward evening Clarence Talbot called with a Mr. Scott, a Scotchman who is just now from Australia. He wished to see some families in Mormondom, so Clarence brought him here. Seemed pleased, had never heard anything about our doctrines or knew the cause of our persecutions. I offered him one of my pamphlets on plural marriage. Wished my autograph. I wrote it, for which he thanked me, etc. Florence and Henry D. called after meeting. Flawed said she'd told Zine that she was coming home as soon as she could get someone in her place. Race is all over the sore throat baby poorly. Monday 24th. Beautiful morning, very cool. We had a fire made last evening in dining room and again this morning. Cut out a basque and commenced to make it for myself, though feeling poorly. Sister Susan Young called as teacher. I gave her a bar of toilet soap, 15 CDS for donation to Relief Society. Rained hard today. Mary W. And some of her children went yesterday to Camas. I'm tired out. Tuesday 25th. Still raining at intervals. Attended society meeting at Lion House. Had but few persons, but made up by the good spirit which prevailed. I felt more freedom than usual in speaking. Mr. Pomeroy, just back from a mission, called to see us. Knew Charlie in Mesa. He's bro to Soul's wife. Fine fellow clouds have burst and muddied the water, so the tanks had to be shut down, depriving us of water. Thankful my thirst has left me, which has been terrible since I was sick last week. Wednesday 26th, was overdone last night with sewing. Finished my basque today. Lily went up to Sister Sloane's and to Orson's to tell Florence to come down this evening to help entertain bro Pomeroy and a Miss Davis, who came from where he has been laboring. Flawed and Charlie were obliged to attend the careless practice in the evening, but came some time after the visitors, whom Jen and I entertained. She sang, and Miss Davis also has a splendid voice, fine young lady. Charlie gave a speech, Flawed sang, and young Kirkman gave us 3 or 4 songs, comic and sentimental, an excellent voice. Charlie and Flawed sang the operatic .. Thursday 27th, bro Pomeroy stayed all night with Charlie. I invited him to pray with us this morning. He made a good prayer. I gave him 2 of my books, the first and second on plural marriage. He took 2 packages of news to post for me to 2 persons in the States, which makes 2 packages that I've sent to different places within a week. Yesterday I spent 25 CTS for stamps for this purpose. Our peaches in front of parlor are getting ripe. Helen Violet came in with Belle's baby. I gave her a few peaches, which I found ripening. My bowel complaint continues, troublesome. Worse today, while eating my dinner, a young man came to the door and asked Jen for something to eat. As he was hungry, she invited him in and put some meat before him. With what we had for lunch, he appeared respectable and modest and well-bred. I asked how long he'd been here, said just came today from the east, was a machinist, said he'd been round seeking employment, but found none. I found by inquiry that he was a native of York State. I told him that was mine also. I felt sorry for him, thought, supposing Charlie should be hungry in a land of strangers. And I treat this young fellow as I'd want others to treat my boy. Jen felt the same. He left after eating and thanked me when I told him he was very welcome. The other night I dreamed of having a young babe, but could not get it to nurse. A few days had passed and I happened to think of its going without nourishment so long, and took it to see if it was dead, but it was still alive, and when I put it to the breast it nursed as though hungry, and I was greatly surprised and pleased to have it nurse so heartily. I can interpret it. Florence is the babe, who after living away from me a while desires to come back home, and I am not sorry, though it will be one more to draw from the main tent and add to my cares and responsibilities. I want my children under my watch, care, and influence if possible, as I consider myself the proper one and feel as nobody else can. Friday 28th, I started to the D. News office to see bro Nicholson about getting them to take some of my books to sell, but found they had them to sell for Abram Cannon. Just as I got nearly to the west corner of this block, met the postman with a letter from Jean Kimball at Meadowville, containing $5 which his mother had got for my books, which she took the last time she was down, which came very unexpected and filled me with gratitude. I went to Coop to pay bro Dowden what I am owing, but he'd gone to dinner, went to Hardee's and got butter and 24 glass jars for fruit. Florence came this evening, and Lily with her said she was coming home tomorrow evening. Another tramp came today and Jen gave him bread, which he thanked her for. Saturday 29th, I never slept till after 12, but am better in health. Wrote an article on Charity Press. My black skirt washed yesterday, and today Lily ironed. Jen worked at Peaches, put up 13 jars and pairs 2 or 3. Flawed came home this evening for good. Sunday 30th, slept good, lovely morning. Orson and family called at the gate in a buggy on their way to Warm Springs. Wrote part of an article historical for X, got ready and went to meeting. Brother Nephi Pratt and Heber Grant preached, were very interesting. When nearly to Joshua's, my strength gave out. He stood by the gate and I took his arm. He said I looked like I needed help and he'd help me home. I did it to get him to come up, as he had not been here for so long a time, and I also felt the need of his assistance. Monday 31st, wrote some cutout work. Jen put up plums in cans. Florence helped about the work. Lily, also she is feeling poorly. George Bourne came to dinner to tell us about Helen and baby. She is to stay at Farmington 2 or 3 weeks longer. Baby getting fat, he says. Tuesday, September 1st, finished article, then gathered and pared peaches to can. Lily and I and Jen canned them all but one. I filled a 2-quart jar while Jen went to store to get groceries. Am tired though. Flawed has done most of the work today. Jen has made plum preserves and jelly. We are putting up lots of fruit. Wednesday 2nd, girls washed. I pared peaches. Juliet and 2 little girls came to see us. I received a letter from Brother Abe. Kimball, he's given up and made his will, feels weaker every day and coughs terribly, says he feels in as good spirits as possible and could crack a joke if he was a mind to. We had a load of coal come today. Florence gone, went to the lake with Hen Dinwiddie this afternoon. I felt gloomy somewhat today over our prospects. Flawed says she does so much so as to lay awake nights and wants to get something to do. I laid awake 3 hours last night thinking. Charlie and Flawed are at rehearsal of Sullivan's new comic opera, Milkadoo, at Careless Music Palace, Thursday 3D. Had good sleep last night, wrote this forenoon, paired peaches afternoon, and wrote AP card to bro Abe. Feel sad as Charlie tells us that he wants to go to Mexico. Had heard that some men were going there who work at T off to settle new country and wants to go with them. Tired working as he is doing and getting so little for it. Don't blame him, but feel as though I'd rather see him sent out to preach the gospel than to go on any other mission, and hope it will be overruled for the best at all events. This is fast day, Friday 4th. Had a good night. Arrows early gathered and pared peaches for canning and for drying. Lily helping me. Went to exponin' off. For papers, Orson came in and we had a talk upon my temporal concerns and other things. Took my copy to M to publish and got papers. My heart is very heavy. Prayed 3 times this evening to gain faith and wisdom and to rise above my feelings. The girls have gone to surprise deck tonight. Saturday 5th, went to co-op and spent $6 for flannel for Charlie. Underclothes, made him a pair of drawers and mended up an old undershirt for him. Got his pay today. Sunday 6th, spent at home. Cloudy and looks like rain. I wrote part of a letter. Understand that Orson preached today. They say he was filled with inspiration. Jenny started this morning with others for Laura Pax, where Mary and family are still except Dolph and Clark. Monday 7th, received a splendid letter from Bro Soul, and wife, his health is poor. She thinks the climate don't agree with him. June and Zine Wood came here today from Springville to spend a few days. Tuesday 8th, Flawed washing. Wood girls gone out. Lil working hard. Angie Frank came to see us, wanted a girl for some friends who are in great need of help, having certain persons stopping at their house. I asked Florence if she wanted to go. She thought not, but after hearing the conditions, partly promised. She has been to every millinery in town to seek work, got none. But one place, they regretted not knowing of her sooner, as they'd engaged a girl to come but would prefer Florence, being partial to her. I told her perhaps she'd see a providence in it, and I rather thought this opening today was for her best good, as the society and influence will be preferable, and she may be benefited by it for the remainder of her life. If she goes, I'm feeling badly. Wednesday 9th. I never slept for half the night. Sicker than yesterday. Those bad spells, not frequent but terrible when they come. Am so weak in body and sad in spirit. Thursday 10th. Still afflicted in body. Helen Violet, my niece, came in and spent a while sad in spirit. The unintelligible, the unreadable, was wanted, as had heard her recommended as one they could place confidence in. She saw an F, unreadable, use their horse and buggy any time. Friday, September 11th. We were surprised this evening at Abe Kimball's arrival from Kenosh. Never thought to see him again this side the veil. He thinks now that he is going to live. His strength is wonderful after being so lately on his bed. His cough is terrible. Had to send Flawed and company to Mary's to sleep and give Abe her room. He looks thin pale. Saturday 12th, have enjoyed a good visit. Abe preaching and joking as much as usual. He went around to the president off news off. Came back tired out. The girls here, yet I felt terribly down in spirits. Through the afternoon, my bill came in from Hardy's, $12 and something. Orson came at evening with some orders, $15 from BP Preston. Widow's allowance monthly from this date made me feel better. Besides, Orson took $5 and gave me that amount in silver, so much toward paying my debts. Have written one letter, or part of one, to represent biases towards that manifested the opposite, and worried for it. Sunday 13th, went to meeting with Lucy Walker Kimball, who called for me. Enjoyed the preaching by Dr. Seymour Young and Apostle John Taylor. A gentle man sang a hymn accompanied by the organ, then the choir sang an anthem. Bro Abe went this morning to Woods Cross to his mother-in-law's, is going to Logan from there. Jenny returned home this evening, heard of the death of Sister Sloane, which overwhelmed her with grief. Dolph ran to the gate and broke the news suddenly. Monday 14. I went to the off where Horace used to work to see Jim Jack about making a turn to pay my city taxes. He said he would. When I entered the office, he invited me to sit down at his desk. In passing Horace's desk, my heart dropped, and I was unable to keep the tears back. Much had to indulge. This was the first time I'd entered that off. Since Horace was there, went to co-op, got me some black kid gloves, called on my first trip and on my return home to see BP Preston, but did not see him. Called at market and got a boiling piece of beef, gave Florence $1.50 to get cloth for skirt. Last week received $4.75 from the president of Relief Society at Bear Lake for my books taken up by Joseph Kimball to sell. Tuesday 15th. Slept pretty good. Done up 2 packages of news and sent them to Rock Island, Mississippi. Made part of a skirt for Florence. She helped me make the lining for it. Aunt Angie called to see us. Wednesday 16. Attended Sister Sloane's funeral. When I started to walk Carl Young in a buggy past here, and I helloed to him and asked what he'd take to carry me to Sister Sloane's. He said nothing to get, and I felt that Providence sent him along and told him he should have my prayers and blessing. He said that was good enough. Rode to the grave in a coach with Sister Calder, Rachel Simmons, and Sister Young. On my return home, went up to see Vi Kimball. Found her very lame. Jeannie gone to her pa on a visit to Butte. Last evening Clark and Tootle came in. The latter had been frightened awfully, thought a ghost was after him, a trick of some boy. He shook like an aspen leaf. I made him a bed and told Clark to leave him here as he was too cowardly to go down home, there being nobody there. Thursday 17th. Dreamed of Horace being with me. Last night done nothing but sewing today. Florence washed yesterday. Lily done housework. Both of them have ironed today. Jen staying with Maggie Sloane. The weather mild. Indian summer. Friday 18th. Have worked hard today. Finished Florence's skirt and pressed it. She is greatly pleased with it. This afternoon received $2.50 from Granite Ward for some books that I took down there. The sister who brought it to me informs me that the ladies' conference was held today in the 14th Ward. I feel awful sorry to have missed it. Thought it was to be next week. Forgot the day of the month. Heard something today pertaining to Jenny and her old spark that gives me much uneasiness. But the Lord is my only help, and to him I look for assistance to hold her, that she may not go out of the fold. She has given me the reading of letters lately received from one who has loved and trifled with her affection, and now after she's weaned, trying to win her again. She has given him no hope as yet, but he is awakening the old flame. Saturday 19. Flawed has cleaned the house outside and in, and Lily working at kitchen work as usual helping Flawed. Jen came home, but went back to stop with Maggie Sloane. Another week. BP John Sharp taken an awful step, succumbed to man-made laws, renounced his wives and celestial principle of matrimony. For the sake of the world, Lord, have mercy on him. How sad, how sad. Sunday 20th. Florence went this morning to Bountiful with Henry. They brought a pup home last eve, given her by Hen's uncle, 2 months old. They say a fine arrival it will make. I attended meeting at Tabernacle, heard Bro M.F. Cowley preached, done up 5 packs of papers to send to Gentiles. Monday 21st. Bro Yen's son died suddenly at Logan. I learned this morning, where he'd gone to do some work in the temple with his 2 wives. Bro McMullen came to bring me a note from the president of Relief Society of the 8th Ward, E.B. Fletcher, inviting me to a picnic and meeting Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. Tuesday 22nd. Helen and baby, who returned from Farmington yesterday, came here towards evening to stay till Thursday. I went to see BP Preston about changing T.O. orders for one on Hardy Bros, etc. to pay my bill there. He had none. Went to X office, got papers, met Sister H.T. King there. Called at Hardy's, met their partner, Burton, who informed me that he was perfectly willing to trade with the BP for grain if he would let him have it on his terms. Wednesday 23. Helen and Florence washed. I went to see the BP, didn't find him. Saw his clerk, asked him if he'd get me an order, and I'd pay for it out of my portion. Next month he said he would, and he would help me to it today if he could act. I went down street to get some butter, met Lauren far from Ogden. As I was going down on my return, called at Savage's to see about my picture of the temple. It was framed, and they are to send it up. Cost me $2 to get it framed. Mary arrived from Camo's this evening with her mother, and Sister Helen has left her baby and went with Florence and Charlie to the practice at Careless. Thursday 24. Went to T.O., got some butter, met BP Preston, and asked him if he could afford to give me an order of $15 on Hardee's in the place of that amount due me next month. He said it was just the same as cash and gave his clerk orders to give me $22.50 in cash to pay the debt there, and my water tax, which I also mentioned this was more than I'd looked for. I thought I'd be able to pay my debts at Hardee's and have a little left, but when I went and inquired, I owed $20.60, paid $20, went from there to City Hall to see Orson, who informed me that I could pay him $2.50, the rest be remitted, so he took that amount in TO order. I called on Marion Sprague. Helen Vitale was there. Came home thankful to have been relieved of some anxiety over debt. Helen and baby gone home. Mary Whitney brought me 4 pounds of fresh butter from Sister Pack of Commas for books sold for me. I am very grateful for it. Friday 25th, cloudy and rainy. I pared and canned 5 quarts of peaches. Bro Lee of Tooele called in. Jen came home this evening. Bud brought Flawed apart in Queen's Evidence yesterday. I missed going to the picnic in the 8th Ward, was so tired out, had to go to bed and rest me after dinner. Saturday 26th. Rained most of the night, cold enough to have a fire in the house. Sent 2 parcels of news by Jen to mail, done mending and darning, and copied article for X. Sunday 27th. Somewhat cloudy this morning, went to meeting, enjoyed it, but came home tired out. Ward Pack, Laura, and their sons spent the evening with me, had a pleasant visit. Flawed went to Helen's to stay all night. I sat up late writing. Monday 28th, John Whitney called. He felt high. Julie Sudbury came down with carriage to take me home with her to visit. Lily was invited too. We went and had a pleasant visit. On our return, Julie asked Jen to ride, took us down to Helen's. Lily stayed there, and we took a ride up the creek and then home. Flawed came home from Helen's. She, Jen, and Hen have gone to practice. Tuesday 29th, I went to Exponent office to carry my article. M had gone to the lake. I went into the wholesale store and bought a bowl of toweling for $1.50, paid $1.75 at Coop for a dozen fruit jars, gave Florence $1.50 to pay for her jersey. Wednesday 30th, wash day. Lily came home from Helen's. A tramp came to ask for a clean shirt, had just come from Denver. Showed me a bad ankle, swollen into a bunch. I mended one of Horace's white shirts, which was done up nicely. He thanked me and asked if I had a garden he could work in, or wood to chop. I asked if he was able. He said yes. I gave him the axe and took him to the wood pile. He cut quite a pile, and when dinner was ready, I went and told him to come and eat. He did, and then went to work again. There were 3 wheelbarrows full. Got Faye to bring it up and gave his mother some of it. I went up to Phoebe and spent the afternoon. Maggie was there. Feels terribly over losing her child. At evening, Josh and John Whitney and Luke Johnson's son came in. The girls sang and played some music. John felt as usual, sang and gave some recitants in his style. October 1st, Thursday. I finished Charlie's flannel shirt, commenced yesterday. Was so tired. Rested poorly some of last night. Dreamed that father came to me and told me to get that article ready for publication, meaning one that I'd partly written some time ago and had thought a day or 2 past that this was the proper time for it to come out, and in my prayer asked to know and to be guided by the true spirit what I should do. Whether this was the answer I am not able to say, but think maybe. Friday 2nd. Dreamed that Charlie was going away to be gone 3 years. A Sister Christensen from Colorado came to me to obtain some counsel about their RS at that place. I told her Sister E.V. Wells would be the one, went with her to the X-Off. Was introduced to an Austrian professional correspondent of Vienna, Mr. Julius de Bink. Helen, Mary W., and girls have gone to Sister Frank to visit. Orson came to see us a few minutes. George Bourne and Deck came to dinner. Helen brought some duck to us to cook as she was going away. Saturday 3D. Weather still lovely. Have done some mending and writing. Harriet S. Kimball came down from Meadowville. Sunday 4th. Had a call from Sister Davis from St. David, brought sad news from Cad and family. All were laying sick with malaria and want to come back to Salt Lake if they can get a farm to work on, shares, or anything to live. Monday 5th. Head and eyes tired. Writing and reading over my copy. Got it finished at last. Went towards night to D. News off. For some paper, Brother Nicholson had told me not to pay for any, but to come to him. This I've done twice. He told me anything they had I was welcome to, and when he was not there to go to Bro George Lambert. And repeated it to George as he is expecting to go to the pen. I called at M's off. For X wasn't out yet. Met Orson at the corner of D. News he had been here to see me about something. I told him, the day he was here, a report that I'd heard Ed Talbot and his father came home yesterday. Ed has spent most of his time here. I forgot to mention the excitement we had this morning. Flawed was ready to go to Logan and Hen. Dinwiddie was to come for her, but for some cause failed and she gave up that she was left behind, as it was too late for her to walk to the depot, the worst of it being the engagement of the Home D Club to play tonight at Logan. We were all in a terrible way, and at the last moment, when Flawed had broken down in tears, here comes John Spencer with a carriage for her. The car had waited, it seems, later than usual. Harriet K. called here today. Tuesday 6th. I went to X off for paper towards evening, got them. Helen and baby called towards evening. Charlie feeling sick with a cold Wednesday 7th. I've written my article over again and improved upon it. Abe Kimball arrived this evening from the north, thinks his health's improved. Thursday 8th, slept so little for a few nights past, feel badly. Been down street and am used up without accomplishing anything that I went for. Friday 9th, Florence returned from Logan. Sent my copy to D. News by Jen. Saturday 10th, worked hard and tired, completely out. Rainy weather. Mary offered me a ticket to go to the theater, but I feel too tired and need my sleep too badly, besides it's raining, as I said it would. Florence gone instead. Abe more poorly. Sunday 11th. Pleasant still. Went at evening to Orson's. Henry Dinwiddie Jr. took me and Jen in his carriage. Leaving her at Sloan's, we enjoyed Bro Nicholson's farewell sermon from meeting. He and a house full of his friends went to Orson's by invitation. This was an interesting occasion. Orson announced that this was for the presentation to Bro Nicholson of a sum of money from a number of his friends, accompanied by a short address. Apostle Erastus Snow asked the privilege of speaking, and his words added to O.F.S. were so eulogistic of him that he objected to their being published in the news. He was quite overwhelmed. Wine and cake was passed around to the ladies and gentlemen. Charlie and Jen went there with us and returned home with. Monday 12. Florence received her pay today, $20, too little for wearing her health out in the life of an actress. I dreamed this morning, it was in the evening, and that I stepped out of the west door of my house and saw two smallish frames hanging in an outside shed. All they contained was a black background like a picture with a white space around it. At first I thought there were three, but found one to be a piece of meat, corned, nearly the same size, hanging alongside of them. I was struck by the strangeness of their being placed there, and asked Major Talbot, who was standing behind me, what it meant. He not answering, I looked at him, and his countenance expressed deep feeling. I said, "Tell me, what does it mean?" And I repeated it twice before he replied. He hated to tell me, but as I insisted, he said, "It means the tearing up of the earth." I understood it to mean that our foes had placed these signs at different houses in our city as a warning of their intentions, and that was war. Charlie and Florence, I dreamed, had gone out to a party, and I thought to myself, I'm glad they know nothing of this, so they can enjoy themselves this once, at least. I had a very pretty light collared dress, partly made, having taken great pains with it, but when I went into the house and saw it, I said to myself, I've no use for it now. There's no need for me to work at it any more. The interpretation, I think, is sickness, and I fear I can't tell how it will end. Tuesday 13th. Juliet sewing here, making Florence's dress. Flawed got Jenny the finest one, better cloth than her own cost as much. Again said she'll get herself another after a while. I, after a hard trying, have written another historical article for X. Thought I should not be able to, for the constant interruptions. Have helped to sew on Flawed's dress this afternoon. Abe is feeling badly and intends going in the morning to Kaysville, says he can't live in the city. Brother Nicholson has gone to the pen for his religion's sake. Wednesday 14th. Abe went this morning. Juliet here sewing. I've worked all day on Flawed's dress. Washing done today. Thursday 15th. I went to D News office, got my copy to make some alterations. Went into X off. To see M. Have finished Flawed's dress today, then altered my copy and improved it. Lily got up at daybreak and got breakfast. Abe was relating Bro Angus Cannon's dream to me, which I'd heard from him before, but could not tell it. He, Angus, saw the prophet Joseph in his uniform. He appeared to be inside of a frame, or boards enclosing him. He had on his military cap, and he saw him go down, leaving it at the top. Brigham rose up from the place where Joseph had gone down, and the cap went onto his head. After a little he went down, leaving the cap where Joseph did, and John Taylor rose, and the cap fitted and rose with him, the same as it did on Brigham. Then, after a time, President Taylor went down, leaving the cap at the top, and the next one was Joseph himself, who rose from the same place, and his hat, or cap, fitted onto his head as he came up. He will, no doubt, take his place, as the dream would signify, when President Taylor passes away, for the first resurrection is right upon us, according to Joseph Smith's words. Friday 16th, Lily got up and got Charlie some breakfast. I went to sleep and slept till after 8. Flawed also. She started for Provo after 01. This morning with the Home Dramatic Club. Jen went last night to stay with Helen and hasn't returned. Lily has done some ironing and cleaned the lamps and done all the work except sweeping. I've done that and am tired out. She seems to get stronger in body. Saturday 17th, I walked to the 14th Ward to R.S. meeting. Had a good time. I was able to speak with unusual freedom on my return. Called at M's off to rest my back being used up from the walk. Jen, Helen, and Baby came home and left Baby to go to Matina. I done up 6 packages of news and mailed them today to Gentiles. Sent Mr. Beard the epistle from the presidency, with some of the Trib's comments upon it, with some of the minutes from conference at Logan and their comments upon them. Sunday 18. Attended meeting at Tabernacle. On the way home met M and Sister Howard. The latter came home with me and spent the evening. We found my niece, Belle Pitts, had come to invite me to visit at her house next Thursday. She invited Sister Howard too. Flawed came home sick, chilly and feverish, been sick ever since she went to Provo. Looks terribly dilapidated, had a cold before she went, and has been exposed dressing in thin dresses in a cold house and had poor audience and only made $10 in 2 nights with a death cold added. Monday 19th. Flawed had her feet soaked and took a pill. Burning fever all night. I slept so little, felt sick this morning. Gave her another pill. She has a pain like indigestion. Clara and Lois Kimball arrived today from home. I went to D. News to exchange 2-cent stamps for 1 cent. George Lambert gave me some, but refused the pay. Met Orson by the office gate. I went to work and ripped and made over my black skirt. The girls gone down to Helen's. Tuesday 20. Flawed some better, slept better, both of us. Got my stove and put it up in the front room. Had to work so over it, got overdone and nearly sick. Had to forego the meeting RS at Linehouse. Sister Susan Young called as teacher. Had to sit up late to get the chance to have Flawed bathed, which had not been done since last week, and her feverish clothes still on her. I got out of patience because I could not get the opportunity, this being the only room where there was a fire, and where she had to sleep and was full of folks till late in the evening. My shoulders had also to be rubbed with liniment before the fire, being very bad with rheumatism. I knew that Flawed and myself would be worse the next day for it, and I felt indignant, being so tired and sleepy as I was, and I knew that Flawed's health would suffer if I did not attend to her washing, so I stuck it out. And it was 11 o'clock when we got through. People ought to know better than to stay late when there's sickness. Wednesday 21. Just as I expected, it was after 12 before sleeping, and then I awoke and laid for 2 hours before getting to sleep again, sick as death all over me. Flawed never slept either, but is better of the pain. I gave her Golden Seal in water, by Phoebe Kimball's recommending it, and it helped her digestion. She has tried in vain to sleep till towards night. I gave her a weak sling and she went to sleep. She went this evening to rehearsal. I feel worried about her going. Sent and got some bromate of potash and gave her, took some myself. I went down to X's office to get the paper. Orson came, and while I was there, my article is in this evening news. I see. Orson thought I had dared considerable and would have the Trib down on me for attacking it and signing my name. Thursday 22. I took some bromade and had a good night's sleep. Flawed says she never slept any. She took too much of it. She slicked the front room, and Hen's mother and Sister Flo called to see her. Belle, my niece, sent her carriage for me to spend the afternoon. Brought me home in the evening, had a pleasant evening, found the girls eating supper, and we were late before getting to bed. Friday 23. I feel frightful for the want of sleep. Flawed slept tolerably well, but is worse, and now acknowledges that she's had too much company and must be more quiet, proving my words true. She has got the rheumatism in her right hand now, feels badly towards night. A hack drove up with visitors, 4 young persons, Mary Smoot and Miss Webb and Gertrude. I thought for a while that I would sink, a house full already, and no beds to accommodate more, saying nothing of having sickness. But I made out to tell the facts, and they went up Zena's, though I invited the boys to come back if they could sleep with Charlie. He was sick with a cold and had his feet soaked and took some medicine when going to bed. Trouble never comes single, and I'm distressed in mind, though I'm better in body this evening, but awfully sleepy. Jen's dress has been making today by Juliet, and Clara and Jen have assisted her. I finished an article for Exponent and took it to M. Towards night went for Dr. Murphy to do something for Flawed, called at ends off. For papers with my article in it. Bro Lambert asked me if I wanted a dozen. I laughed and told him I hardly thought of asking for that many, would like several, and he got me 9, so I shall send them away. Saturday 24th, felt miserable this morning for want of sleep. Lily feels sick, and Flawed worse, rheumatism in the other hand and pain all over her back. I've helped about Jen's dress till night, went then for Dr. Murphy, but not finding him, wrote on the slate on his door. Went down to Market Street to get a chicken for Flawed. The man put up one that he knew was spoiled, and after getting home I found it out. I returned and took Jen with me, and told the fellow who had poked it on to me that I was cheated, when he quickly turned to a boy and said, "Let her pick one out." I did so and told him I was accustomed to going to the church market at T.O., where they did not give people stinking meat. He was guilty and glad to get rid of me. I was lucky in finding there some friends, Miss Sudberry's, to whom I'm obligated for a ride home, as I was overdone with the first tramp, and grateful to get a ride back. Flawed can't eat enough to keep her up. I done up her hands and helped her to bed. Her cousin Lois sleeps with her tonight. Clara did so last night to relieve me. Sunday 25. Flawed's hands lots better, slept pretty good. I'm too tired to go to meeting. Jen and her cousin went to Catholic meeting in the morning. Hen D went this morning to Sister Frank's and got some buttermilk for Flawed, which she relished. He came with a carriage in the afternoon to take her a ride, and she was mad at me, and he too, I presume, because I refused to let her go. I told them I had experienced enough and knew more than children did, what was for the best, and there was a north wind. That would have given her death to ride out in, when to walk would be very different. Besides, she had been shut up in a warm stove room, and only got the rheumatism checked for the first time last night. Monday 26. Major Talbot and family, 2 boys, came to spend the day. Abe came down from Kaysville this noon, is lots better. He wrote a letter to E.R. Snow to send me as one of the sisters to attend ladies' conference at Scipio the coming month. Flawed much better. Tuesday 27. I went to Co-op and got bolt of factory and 5 yards bleached on tick. Abe went with me. We called at News Off. He took me to the churchyard to see the monstrous cattle from Scotland. Done up 8 parcels of news to send to Gentiles, and done some sewing pillowcases made. Wednesday 28. Jen and Clara done the washing. Flawed walked downtown and her foot bad last night. I done it up in wet cloth up now, helped to ornament her skirt for the stage, have worked hard at it all this afternoon and evening to save her from being worse. Hen worked at his. Thursday 29. Laid abed late, was late to bed and no sound slumber till morning. Flawed better. I worked on her gown today. Abe has seen Emmeline Wells, and she says I am to go to Holden Conference. Sister Sarah Kimball and herself maybe will accompany us. Friday 30th. Helen's wedding day. Jen and Lo went to help her last evening and today. I went toward night, was hindered by a call from Tullidge. He wanted father's likeness and name in his own hand, and his journal. I gave them to him towards night. In the evening, Clara and Lily and Mary came down, informed me that 2 Miss Woods had come from Springville to stop with us. They were not aware of our having a house full running over, and what I should do with them destroyed all my comfort. Florence had to go to practice at the theater as her sickness had prevented her going for several times. Lily and Clara were invited to Helen's and none left but Bro Abe. The Woods girls went down street and when coming back found not one of the folks to receive them. They dressed for a ball, and when I returned home supposed that Zell would come there to sleep, but was agreeably surprised in Saturday morning the 1st of November, to find that she went with her sister to a hotel. I went in company with Abe in search of a dentist to fix my teeth before going south, but was unsuccessful. Returned home to pack my things. Done more work on Flaud's costume. Sat up late to write to Soul. Sunday 2nd. First, I've not been able to sleep for a number of nights till 11 or 12 o'clock, but take the chance mornings and feel pretty well for me. We have done some work today which we ought not to on the SAB, but it seemed unavoidable. Flawed got the blues today, feels unwell in body. Christine Kimball and Sarah Rees called and spent part of the evening. We had a number of callers to see Abraham. Monday 3rd 2nd arose early, went to see BP Preston. Was disappointed. He'd gone north. His counselor, nor clerk, could help me to money to pay my debt at co-op, but gave me $5 order on Hardy and Burton's. I went there and paid 60 CTS owing, and got several handkerchiefs for $1.50. Took 1.50 to Jen. I met Orson, and Emmeline told him my trouble in having no money to pay my debt, which made me blue. He said if I could not get it, he'd lend me the amount, which is about $17, and that he was trying to lay up means to build him a house. After noon, Abe and I attended matinee. I took charge of Sister Kravitz, who also went. Abe couldn't stand the place and had to go. After returning, ate a bite, and then went to take streetcar to go to Helen's, where Lily went in the afternoon to take care of baby for them to go to theater. I thought when the car stopped at the place where the lumber establishment is, that the man had halted for me, and it being dark I could not see, and as he went started on I got out, and the result was I landed on my back as nicely as though I'd been laid out. The driver stopped and said gruffly that he was stopping for the other car to get out of the way, so I got in and rode the rest of the way. They had nearly given me up. My cloak had saved my clothes from the dust of the street. I sat up till 10 o'clock mending gloves and cloak. Never slept till after they came home, and after one nap heard George making fire. Oh, how glad I would been to have slept. But must get up, got ready, and breakfasted in time. Started at the time Charlie passed with Abe and the girls in his delivery wagon. Found Emmeline Wells at the depot waiting for me to give the pleasant information that neither Sister Sarah Kimball, Sister Horn, nor herself could go along. She was hindered by the hospital business, and I must go alone. Abe was requested to help me out, but did not promise to do it. I've only the Lord to assist me. At the Juab depot, a brother was waiting to take me to Scipio, where we put up with the president of the R. Society, Sister Yates. She met us with a welcome. Abe and a young man from Brigham Young Academy rode with me. We had a very pleasant ride. The weather was very cold. After sun went down, we were treated to roast goose for supper and other good things. Wednesday 5th, 4th slept good and rose early. Started soon after 7 o'clock for Holden. Was a cold ride and rained and snowed some. We went to the meeting, were there in good time. The primary conference was in session. Went to Bro Ashby's to dinner. He is brother to Susan Ashby, wife of Apostle Snow. And Sister Ashby is one of the Badger family. Her grandmother I knew. She traveled with us on steamboats when moving from Ohio to Missouri with the Farrs, Beamons, and Erastus Snow, etc. Bro Robson and wife stayed there. Also Adelia Kimball from Kenosh. I was greeted with a warm welcome. Met the two sisters who were once Eliza and Caroline Partridge, also with Sister Greenolch, who with others of them took dinner at Bro Ashby. I felt very much annoyed at me being the only one from Salt Lake. Spoke a short time at the primary, longer at the young ladies' afternoon, but not to my satisfaction. The president left it to me whether the meeting should be held in the evening or next morning, as I was feeling so tired. But it was my mind that it should be this evening, as they had expressed a desire to get through, as there were some that lived a long distance and wished to get home. I was told that I could go to bed and not try to attend the meeting, but I told them no. I had been sent, and therefore would feel ashamed to having it said that I stayed away from meeting. I felt as though I'd been pelted. My body was sore all over. But I went, and I felt better for it. Went to bed late, about 11 o'clock. Adelia and I slept together. Thursday 6th. I forgot that this was fast day, meant to have kept it, but perhaps it is for the best. As I am to speak today, I have felt nearly discouraged at my poor efforts in that line. This house is full of children who have come to the primary from other places, added to those living here. The people seem very kind and hose edel in these parts. One have enjoyed the trip. Abe went to Fillmore yesterday. We have had a good sleep, and I am entirely free from lameness and soreness in my body. Feel that the Lord bless me in going to meeting last evening. We had a splendid conference this morning. I spoke after the other sisters. The Lord heard my cries, that I might speak with freedom and by His Spirit to the satisfaction of my hearers. As well as myself, I feel grateful to Him and to them. I arose the second time and spoke of my books and how I came to write it, and that I would like to have them by them. It seemed to have the effect of magic, as they were bought, some taking 2 and 3, so that they were all gone in a few minutes, and I have received $7 in cash, and could have sold more. I was told by 3 different sisters that if I would send them a few, they believed they could sell them for me. One was Miss Adeline Smith of Fillmore, also Sister Ashby of Holden Millard Co. and Sister Emma Jane Bennett of Coop Store, Beaver Company. Sister Yates, the president, gave me $5 to pay my fare there and hack home 50 CTS to pay for a ride from the depot home in Salt Lake. Very kind indeed. After the conference closed, Sister Greenhalgh told me that when I was speaking, it seemed to her like Orson himself. We were so much alike, etc., etc. She is determined to have me go home with her and spend a time. I was met with a very warm greeting by many who had read my writings when they learned who I was. I can certainly feel that the Lord has blessed me and made pleasant my path. After meeting Wednesday, I forgot to say that Delia and I called on Aunt Huldah Kimball, who was pleased enough to see us and wanted us to stop the night. But we promised that maybe we'd come the next if we could. But after holding one meeting today, we took dinner at Bro Aspie's and traveled on to Fillmore with Bro Robinson and family and put up at his cousin's. Joseph V. Robinson, his wife, is first counselor to Sister Yates, president of the societies of this stake. We had a very pleasant ride, though the weather looked threatening when we started. Snowed a little. Friday 6th. Enjoyed a good sleep. Adelia went to see her sons, and I slept alone. Was introduced to the son of Sister Robinson, the one who was in England when O.F. was there. Lyman Robinson enjoyed a pleasant chat with his mother this morning upon principle, etc. She is a very fine woman. We left there with a strong invitation for me to pay a visit on my return. Sister Yates had also urged and made me promise to send a card if I could make it in my way to stop at Scipio, and she'd notify the sisters and call a meeting while I was there. It was about 12 when we started for Meadow Creek, where Sister A. Greenhalgh greeted us, where and Adelia and self are made comfortable under her roof. Brother Greenhalgh seems pleased with his partner, but their neighbors are not, but are jealous of her because she is a refined and educated woman. But she works like a beaver outdoors and in, and makes home pleasant, which is to her credit, and this seems to be an open house for friends, as many as will come. She was the only one from this place who attended the ladies' conference at Holden. The president of this ward, I learn, is at Fillmore attending a sick relative. Saturday 7th. We sat up till 11 o'clock. I never slept till nearly 1 o'clock, but feel pretty well. The day is pleasant. I wrote part of a letter home. Miss King came down from Fillmore on horseback, is music teacher in this ward. She came back here to dinner, told me that her brother William King told her he was going to board at my house next February, so Abe has spoken to him about it. After dinner, Delia and I are to be conveyed by the young man living here to Canosh. I am now at Abe's home in Canosh, which is a pleasant one. Enjoyed the ride, the weather very mild. I forgot to mention the mountain peak, noticed yesterday as we were coming. When I asked if it had a name, they smiled, and Bro Robinson said it was called Mary's Nipple. And there was another on the other side, a mate to this. I compared it to the top of a tabernacle when I first saw it, and so expressed myself, which called forth a laugh, it being shaped like a woman's breast. Sunday, 8th. I retired early and feel well this morning. On looking over my cash, found I had $7 received for books and $5.50 to pay my fare here and back home. Have just learned that my last book has never been here. The ones that they have here are my first, in answer to Joseph Smith of Lamona. I shall send for some to be forwarded. Went to meeting this afternoon, enjoyed the preaching from Brother Lyman Robinson and his uncle from Fillmore. Wished every young person and their parents could have heard them. Wrote or finished my letter home this evening. Mr. Christensen spent the evening here and took my letter to mail. Monday 9th. Laid awake a goodly share of the night. Dreamed this morning that our city pipes were almost without water, and that we had to go some distance to get it, and I tried in vain to get anyone to go for me. When I awoke, helped Clara a little about sewing, as she is dressmaking. Went with Adelia to see her first counselor, who is very sick, similar to Horace Stropsy. At evening, wrote a sheet to Caroline Kimball in St. David. Tuesday 10th. Slept last night, and among other things dreamed of seeing a wonderful sign in the heavens. A great chair was handled by some mysterious hand, and I gazed at it, and saw it placed in an upright position, and looked around to see if any others saw this sight in the heavens. They did, and there seemed at the right of it a dark sky, and streaks through which a light, like one of fire, was shining. I took this as an omen that the darkness which covers this people would soon be driven away, and a light shine forth in every part. One dreamed a good deal which went from me. Wrote a few lines home. This evening, after all the family retired, took a bath by the stove. Wednesday 11th. Everything loaded with snow when we arose this morning. It cleared off, and thawing it fast. Worked at my black skirt, tired out. Thursday 12. Could not rest for half the night, for weariness. Then my left ankle pained me from rheumatism, and I was taken griping, there getting little rest till nearly morning, when I got ease by taking a peppermint lozenge that I happened to have in my satchel. Felt better in the morning than I anticipated, though not well. Worked a little, and finished my letter to Cad Kimball to mail this evening. Was worse at night with griping. Took some medicine and went to bed. Friday 13th. Had the best night's sleep and feel well this morning. Just got hold of Deseret news, containing the death of Sister Woodruff and the excommunication from the Church of Albert Carrington Apostle. The latter I was glad to hear, as he has been unworthy of fellowship for a long time. This is a lovely day, and I feel as though I ought to go home, but the folks object. Adelia let me read some letters from Mary Bond, and gave me one of her pictures. Commenced a letter to Mr. Wilhelm, of Pitts, Pennsylvania. Can get no time for letter writing at home. Saturday 14th. Lovely weather. Cut out blocks yesterday and today for Eva to piece up for a quilt. She is a very sweet, amiable child. I received a letter this evening from home. Was glad to learn that all were well, but feel sad over the news of Dolph's marriage, which he says took place on Christmas last and performed by a Gentile, Rev. Iliff was the one, a Methodist, no better than as though there'd been no ceremony over it in the eyes of the Lord. Sunday 15. Went with Delia, Mary S., and Clara to take dinner at Sister Christensen's. From there to meeting. Had a good time. Went back to Abe's, though pressed to go back to supper with the same ones. Young Christensen is a fine fellow and worthy of Clara. I was taken sick towards evening, but was soon relieved by some medicine. A crowd of folks came to stay here from the north, and Abe left his bed for them and gone over to Dell's. They are from St. George I. Inquired about Mrs. Dr. Norton. She is no better liked among the folks there, acquainted with her, than she was in Salt Lake. Monday 16th. Abe had a very bad night, but is around as usual. The folks are loath to have me go, but being likely to be storm, I want to go as soon as I can. Abe made arrangements last evening with President Hinckley to have me taken from one place to another, and wrote to the BPs to provide a conveyance. Delia goes with me to Fillmore. The day cloudy, but weather mild. We called at Sister Greenwelch's, found no one there. Went on, and there was a slight sprinkling of rain, quite dark and threatening overhead before we arrived at Fillmore. We were not aware of Sister Hinckley's expecting me to stop there, and passed on to Bro Robson's, where I'd been invited to come. On my return from Kenosh, Sister Robson got a lunch for us and invited President Hinckley and wife Sisters Olson, and a number of sisters who called and spent the evening. They and the President, Bro Hinckley, Bro Robison, and all set in that I should stop over tomorrow to attend the young ladies' meeting. The brethren proposing to give up a meeting or council that they had appointed, and have me to speak afternoon and evening, but I felt this to be not only too great an undertaking for one like me, but unnecessary. Besides, I'd written that I should be in Scipio to meet the sisters at that place Tuesday evening. I felt that this was too bad, but had to yield to the pressure from my superiors and remain another day. Sister Hinckley said I must come to her house tomorrow to pay for passing her by. We had a pleasant time. I'm caught by the storm, the wind blowing cold and hard. Tuesday 17th. We retired after 11 last night. I feel pretty well. We called on Sister Bertie Robeson, who has a young babe. Adelia gone back to Kenosh. They took me to Sister Hinckley's. I, thinking my faith would be stronger, declined dinner till after the meeting. Oh, how my heart was raised in prayer for grace to perform this task. Walked with the President and wife to the meeting house. A little after 3 there were 3 brethren present and young ladies, whom I addressed for quite a time. Was sundown before I ceased. A dog and a mouse made some disturbance, but there was good attention paid. Sister Olson had the minutes of their former meeting read. She told me that she enjoyed what I'd said more than anything that she'd listened to previously for a long time. The president and Bro Robeson spoke a few words, and the meeting dismissed. They prayed that I might be blessed in my labors, and for stopping there another day to meet with them. Walked back to Sister Hinckley's, took a lunch, and visited with her and Sister Robeson, who came over there till late. Wednesday 18th. Slept but little, but rested on the softest bed that I've seen for a long time. We visited till the carriage came for me. Sister Robeson's daughter-in-law took me to Holden. In an easy buggy. We enjoyed the time so well, though we'd never met before, that she was sorry she'd not thought and made arrangements to go on to Scipio with me. I was sorry too, as she was good company, and the buggy so easy. When arriving at Holden, found that Sister Aspie had prepared dinner for me and had given me up as it was late. There were a number of sisters and Bro Bennett and wife eating. Sister Bennett waited till they got the table ready for Sister Robeson and myself. Before she'd finished dinner, I had met them at the conference in that place. One old lady, a Sister Stevens, told me of her troubles, and that she was agent there for the woman's exponent. Gave me $1 which she owed Emmeline to give her. Bro Stringham was engaged to drive me over to Scipio, and being in a hurry to start, I hastily bid my friends goodbye, and in my haste forgot my valise containing my money and the pass, which was to take me home from Juab. I never thought of it till we'd got a number of miles away, but supposed it to be in the carriage. This would prevent me from going on in the morning. We arrived at this place Scipio near night, the weather being mild and lovely. Sister Aspie's daughter and another little girl came along. Sister Yates had received the word from Sister Olson that I would not be there till this evening. They held the young ladies' meeting, and the sister moved that another meeting should be given out for tonight. Not being satisfied without seeing me, Sister Yates says we took supper and went to meeting. A few steps only, found but few, but soon the house was nearly filled with sister. A few apostates, they told me. 3 or 4 brethren attended. The singing was good, and as the meeting was given into my hands, I occupied an hour or so. B.P. Yates of this place and B.P. Steppens of Holden spoke few words when the meeting was closed by singing and prayer by Bro Stringham. Thursday 19th. Slept less last night than usual. About 4 hours storm brewing. The carriages all engaged to take brethren to Fillmore to conference, and I must go on the buckboard if it brings my valise. Bid the folks goodbye after 3 o'clock. And mounted the buckboard with a boy driver for Juab, 22 miles from there. Felt somewhat nervous and fearful of a storm as we came around the mountain where the road was sidling, and the seat broke down on the boy's side, making it very hard for me to hold myself from slipping down and pushing him off. He came near going out 2 or 3 times, and once had to stop to fix the harness just before we got to the Sevier River or the bridge. The rain commenced falling, and the prospect anything but cheering as night was closing in upon us when only 6 miles or so on our journey. I prayed considerable and trusted to the Lord on whose mission I had come. We left the rain behind, and the road becoming smoother, though the night was upon us. We arrived at Juab safe and sound at about 8 o'clock. I gave the letter written by Sister Yates to Sister Taylor, which gave her to understand who I was, and asking her to take good care of me and she'd make it right. When learning that I was a sister of Heber, David, Brigham, and also a daughter of Violet Kimball, B.P. Taylor and family were delighted. Sister Taylor wanted to know if I'd stop to Santaquin on the way to S. Lake, if she'd accompany me and make Cousin Jeanette a visit. I partly promised, though anxious to get home, as she urged me so hard. But it rained all night, and Friday morning she'd changed her mind, which was agreeable to my mind, saying Jeanette had her daughter-in-law sick in her house. This she'd forgotten, which would make it unpleasant for her as well as for me. Sister Taylor was so kind as to inquire if I'd like some hot bath water for my feet. I appreciated this, as a quieter of my nerves to put me to sleep, not having slept much for numbers of nights. She told me to sleep in the morning. The rain began pouring down soon after bedtime. I was comfortably in bed and disturbed but once that early in the morning when the train started, which stops at this place overnight. Went to sleep, and it was 10 when I came downstairs. The train came near 2 o'clock, and Sister Taylor accompanied me to Provo to purchase garden sauce, etc. Between Juab and Nephi, Joseph Smith of Lamoni, and another man boarded the car we were in and sat in front of us one seat between. I didn't know this till after they'd got out at Nephi, where they were to hold a meeting. This we were told by a brother who came to speak to my companion. How we regretted not knowing this, though I took a good look at him and remarked that he must be a Gentile, and I judged one that would not hesitate to have several women at a time, probably was an officer or one of our persecutors. If I had known him, I'd been more bold to criticize and tempted to make myself known. The man on the next seat, who came with him, bought a Tribune, and they seemed to enjoy it. It contained the news of the arrest of Apostle Lorenzo Snow, as also the Morning Herald, which was also there for sale. After Sister Taylor got out at Provo, the car filled up with persons all strangers to me, till at one of the lower towns I saw Apostle Taylor come in, who, seeing me, came and sat near me. He made asked a number of questions about myself and family, said he had known me to be President Heber C. Kimball's daughter, and that I was called Whitney but could not place me, inquired with some hesitation if B.P. Orson Whitney and I were not some way related. I gave a droll look and replied that we were related slightly, when I laughed and told him that I was his mother. He was astonished and could hardly believe this to be a fact, said he should judge me to be about 10 years the oldest, that on top of the question if we were related, etc., made me laugh again and more heartily. I thought I must have renewed my age since leaving our city to receive so flattering a compliment. I told him I was married in Nauvoo and had lost my first 4 children, or Orson would not been the eldest. When we got into the city, he inquired how I was going home, and being informed that I'd thought some of stopping at my daughter's near the depot but would rather go home, if I could get a conveyance, he spoke of the streetcar. But I said I'd see when we stopped. Though he'd offered to pack my things home for me, he carried them out of the car where we were attacked by a dozen hack drivers. One, bro. Taylor, who used to drive us, occasionally saw me and said, "Come on, Sister Whitney," and at this Apostle Taylor followed with my things, and we rode together fetching me home, and when I spoke to the driver about pay, he said he would attend to that, so I was landed home free and safely and secure from the rain, which was another and stronger testimony to me that my bread and butter had been right side up with care from the time I left till I returned to my own door. I found Helen and baby here, so if I'd gone to her house instead of taking a hack, would been in a fine fix and no way to ride home. I prayed in my heart to be directed by the right spirit when we got into the depot, and this is the course I've taken all the time. They, it seems, at the other house, were looking for Dolph and wife to arrive from Logan, and when I came home, Lily and little Helen born were the only ones, and the other 3 girls had gone down to Mary's to see Dolph's rooms prepared for him and bride. They were quite surprised to see their mother home. Saturday, 21st. My dear Charlie's 21st birthday, and the girls have planned a surprise for him at evening. They let me lay till I got my sleep out, as I laid awake till after 1 o'clock. Had I put my feet in a warm bath as I did at Juab, might have slept as sweet as I did then. A year ago today I worked constantly over my husband, and changed the clothes on his legs, soothed his pain all I could by wringing them out of cold water every few minutes, and left him after 11 in Jenny's charge, to get a little sleep, being perfectly exhausted. This was the last time we spoke to each other when I was called up. He was past feeling pain. I thought he would have live 1 more day, and I would need strength to take care of him, but had I known the truth I should not have left him. But his rest is sweet, and away with regrets. I could do no more than I did, for my strength had failed me. I went today to report myself to E.B. Wells, and pay her a little cash sent for exponent from the South. Met Orson there, paid him $2.50, lent me to pay my fare. Went to co-op, bought a knife to give Charlie for birthday gift. Met Sister Frank, was introduced to a bro and sister, living north. He said he felt as though he knew me from my writings. Both expressed a desire to have me visit the Relief Society at their place. I told them, as I do all the rest, that they've only to send for me. I called on my return at the X-off to get my papers and give Em her pass, which I'd forgotten to leave. I again met Orson, and we talked about some things of the past. Mrs. Norton and being one of the subjects. She has been up here and had a cancer cut from her head. Em met and spoke to her in the street. She was looking like death, she said. Mrs. N. told her she would have thought we might have known she was crazy when she was here, and talked and treat me as she did. so she is sorry for her course while she might be. I forgive her, she's got her reward. Sunday 22nd. The party passed off nicely last evening, a perfect surprise to Charlie. The girls gave him a box of handkerchiefs and I got him the knife. No one but his brothers and sisters and their companions were here, except Mary and children. I felt too sober to enjoy myself much, thinking of Horace's sufferings 1 year ago last night, and the look he gave me when I told him how I hated to leave him. This morning a year ago, about 11 o'clock, he breathed his last. I attended meeting this afternoon, was tired, and my body sore all over, from my traveling I suppose. Read number of news box numbers. Monday 23d. I slept late, done but little, except to write article for Exponent. My niece, H.V. Kimball, came in this morning and sat a while, says she expects to go back east. Charges have been brought against some of these anti-Mormon officials who pretend that they wish to purify the moral atmosphere of Utah, and others are said to be skipping who are afraid of being arrested for the same crime. About time, I think, to have the scale turn. Tuesday 24th. Rather gloomy, slept but little, no rare thing. Wrote the most of the day. This is the day of Horace's funeral a year ago, and I was taken sick that evening. How much better I feel in body today as well as in every other way, and I've learned some severe lessons within the last year. Wednesday 25th. Wrote more, finished my article, put a band on Flawed's pet coat and buttons on Charlie's coat. Raining all day. Flawed and Charlie start in the morning for Logan to spend Thanksgiving Day. They are to play the Mikado. Thursday 26th. Charlie and Flawed gone. There has been a goose given to Mary by her M, who's gone to Logan, and M has invited me, Lil, and Jen to dinner. M left her baby with her mother. Friday 27th. Took my copy to X office. Went to Express Off. With 3 dozen of my books, paid 45 CTS for sending them to Juab. Went to James, the tinner, to get 2 pans, cup, water pail, and zinc to put under my stove. Called at Co-op, got me pair of gloves, etc. Called at T.O. to see if I could get store order, could get none. Jenny went to L. Decker's. When Jen came home, said Helen's babe was very sick there, vomiting. Went home early. I've done up 9 packages of papers to send to Gentiles. Saturday 27th, 28th. Jenny, after cleaning up kitchen, etc., went to help Helen do her ironing. I cleaned my room and swept sitting room, tired me out. With other things done today at evening, Florence and Henry came back from Logan. Sunday 28th, 29th. Spent at home. Helen Violet came and spent quite a while, wrote the record of names, etc. from my father's Bible. I began a letter to Samira. Would Jen came home, baby better. Monday 29th, 30th. Jenny washed. I commenced Lily's dress. She went afternoon to Helen's. Flawed not very well, but done the work. I've not felt very well, did not sleep till morning, laid abed in the morning, am tired out. Tuesday December 30th, 1st. Slept little, thinking, but slept so more than the night before Lily returned today. I wish I could get above my trials and temptations and stop this worrying and sleeplessness. Worked hard today. Nearly finished Lily's skirt. Hent George and his sister Alice with their 3 little ones came up and took dinner. Received a letter yesterday from Bro Charlie at Butte, complaining bitterly at my not writing him. Wants to know what's the matter. Wednesday, December 1st, 2nd, 1885. Sewing most of the day. Went, towards night, to tea off. To see BP Preston, did not find him. Joseph Kingsbury had saved a $5 order for me on Teasdale, for which I'm thankful, as I'm in debt at Coop and to Orson, and where I'll get cash to pay. The Lord only knows. I told Joseph that I felt as though I was leaded. The weight of my cares and anxiety, how I was to meet my money debts, taxes, etc., gave me the blues, and maybe I'd have to mortgage my home. Joseph asked how much I'd want for it. I couldn't answer that, but told him I'd want to leave the city if I had to part with it. Now I'm endeared to my old home, if it is homely, from 1,000 recollections, sacred only to myself, and him who has passed forever from its threshold, and it would seem a sacrilege for strangers to possess what he left as a legacy sacred to his memory. With the many joys and painful struggles passed through together in days of yore. Thursday 2nd, 3rd. Fasted today and also worked. Sorry not to be able to walk to meeting, or to have any cash or anything to give for a donation. Gloomy the weather outdoor, and gloomy within. Hope the clouds will soon pass over. After dark, Orson called on us. Suppose M. Wells told him I wanted to see him. I told him how I'd tried to see BP Preston to get money to pay him and Co-op. He took some bread and milk with Charlie, seemed good, Jenny said, to have him come in like he used to, and wished he'd come oftener, so did I. Friday 3D 4th, have enjoyed 2 good nights sleep, blessed boons, arose feeling well. Have finished Lily Black's skirt this afternoon. Charlie is attending an evening school, began while I was gone south, is studying bookkeeping, arithmetic, etc. He has a slight prospect of getting a place at Dinwiddie's. To keep books, Henry is trying to get his father to take him. Saturday 4th 5th, Jen blacked my stove and we've put it up in my bedroom. I went a sewing machine store for needles, oil can, and screwdriver. Got all for 50 CTS. The T.O. was searched today by for arms but found none. Sunday 5th 6th, attended meeting, had a splendid one. Orson spoke a short time. After Bro Royal Young, there was a heavenly spirit there. The hymn at the close was sung by the congregation with the spirit. I wrote to Bro Charlie in the evening. Monday 6th 7th. The glass has been put in my windows at last, which cost 80 CTS and 50 CTS for putting them in. Snowing and blowing. Juliet C. came to see me, trimmed over my bonnet. I'm preparing to go to Sandy on tomorrow's morning's train. Started before dark, waited some time in the snow for car, which was kept back by snow on the track. The snow was falling, and when I started from home loaded with a satchel of books, shawl, and parasol, walked to Jennings Corner, got into car when it came after dark. Numbers of men and women were obliged to walk, some several blocks. As the cars failed them, my skirts were wet when I got to Helen's. Tuesday 7th 8th, slept but little. George arose early and helped to prepare breakfast. I was at depot on time, found no sister there, going to Sandy to attend ladies' conference, and having no pass returned to Helen's, spent a short time, and walked up to exponent office M. Felt badly that no one had gone, thought me pretty brave to expose myself to the storm as I did last night. I came home and commenced preparing a copy for the Jen. Glad that I came back, as it is snowing. Troops came in yesterday from the States. Wed 8-9. And Thursday 9-10. Done little, only getting my article ready. Went near dark and took it to the office. Orson was there. Read it as I desired and asked Orson to criticize it, which he did. Made a few changes. Awful cold weather. Friday 01th 11th, attended ladies' conference at 14th Ward. Sister Sarah Kimball invited me with Sister Bathsheba Smith and Rachel Grant to dinner. There were but few in the morning, and not a house full. Afternoon, we were reminded of what Orson said on Sunday, that we might not long have the privilege of meeting together. The soldiers who arrived Tuesday from the States have their barracks west of the Herald off. I passed there on my way to meeting. Think we shall see more of them before we see less. On my way home, called at X off with Sister Yates, who is up from Scipio for goods for their co-op store, and attended conference. When I entered the off, I was informed by Amy Woods, M's grandchild, that she lost the first page of my article as she was taking it to the printing off. I had to write another as they were setting the type for the rest of it. Sat 11th 12th, looked over and done up some papers to send out into the world. Done some mending. Jen is nearly sick from being up late at a party. Her health does not admit of it. Sunday, December 13th, 1885. This is a beautiful day. Cold, sharp weather. Had a good night's sleep. Dreamed this morning after Lily got up that my father had made a will, and I was informed that all of his heirs were to receive their portion, and papers had been drawn up. We were called into one of the rooms, it seemed, in my house, and I sat down upon the floor, weeping by father's right knee. Joe Simmons and wife Rachel were sitting in chairs at my right hand. I had had the charge of someone's babe for quite a time, and had to see to the feeding of it. I thought that I was feeling very sorrowful and weeping as I sat on the floor at father's side. One of the men, whom he had employed to write his will, arose and commenced to read mine first. I seemed to awake just then, and I felt so vexed to think I'd missed hearing it. Whether I did or not, I can't tell. But though I heard no more read, I dreamed of my house, which was a new one and smaller than this one, being refurnished by father's men, who acted by his orders. My green parlor carpet, that I think so much of, was taken up and rolled up on a piazza, which seemed to be upstairs, and after that, I thought it began to sprinkle, and I rolled it under shelter, and as I did so, wondered if they intended to give it to Mary or to anyone else, and if she was one of the heirs. But I said to myself, I cannot part with that, for I like it better than any new one, and I'll cut it up and carpet a couple of rooms with it. I did not think of any other article. but I thought my portion would make me comfortable the rest of my days. I went into the parlor, the only room that they had finished furnishing. The carpet and everything was of the best quality. The carpet was of a rich golden hue. There were 2 west windows, with long curtains of rich drapery, and the very finest of embroidered muslin curtains, of no common kind, but of the richest and latest style of open work around the border. On the opposite side was a mantelpiece and something to the left. I can't remember what, but there was drapery of a half a yard's length of another and darker hue hanging from it with trimming, and over it being was white-worked muslin of the same style as the curtains. After looking at all of them, I turned around to my left, and in the opposite corner by the side of the window, which I'd not noticed when first entering the room, was a large looking-glass and stand with covering, and under it hung a beautiful scroll and motto on it of rich workmanship, 1/4 of a yard or so in length, and 5 or 6 inches wide, with appropriate words, carved full large letters, which I'd commenced to read when I awoke. Oh, how I regretted to find it only a dream. In the midst of my dream, I thought of the babe that I had charge of, and that it had lately failed, not being taken care of or fed properly, as it ought to have been, but now I would pay more attention to its being fed and nourished than I had done. The child means my family perhaps, or else it means my mission outside, which I am required to fill, but have been prevented by circumstances which I had no control over, my husband's and my own sickness, etc. Monday 14th. Finished an article on the manuscript found, which M wished me to write for Exponent. Have worked at my black skirt. Sent $5 order on T-off to Joseph Kingsbury in the place of store order which he had given me. Paid Brother Noyce a $3 order for beer, taken last summer. Wrote a letter to an old lady in Rock Island, the first I've written her, but she had written Horace, and a number of times to me since his death. Sent me stamps twice in return for papers that I've sent her. Sent my article by Jen to office. Tuesday 15th. I've had little sleep. Dreamed 3 nights running of moving into another house and my father being with me. Sister Frink came to see us today, went with me to Relief Society, also Mary Whitney, the latter I had spoken to yesterday, admonishing her to turn over a new leaf and begin to attend our society, etc. There was a goodly number there, and quite a liberal donation from the different district for the poor of the 18th ward. Zena was there as the secretary. This forenoon I went to market for some meat. Went around to X office, found M at work, preparing to go back east to visit her connections in her native state. Starts tomorrow. On my way from meeting met Dr. Murphy and handed him $5 order to pay for doctoring Flawed. When I got home, found a parcel of handkerchiefs, 2 silk, 4 fine white ones, and a number of colors, and 3 pairs of stockings, and a box of pepper, and some cheese, etc. sent to me from Hardy and Burton's store. Jen wanted to know the meaning of it, and so do I. At first thought Flawed might have got some of them for Christmas gifts, but this idea vanished, knowing that she'd brought them herself instead of sending in that way. Besides, she'd never have done such a thing, and had them charged to me especially to get cheese, pepper, and starch, etc. I was so tired, thought I'd wait till she came home, and it would do to take them back in the morning anyhow, but I could not wait, so took the things and packed them back to store. Called into Savage's to show them to Flawed, so not to accuse anyone wrongfully, as we had concluded that Anna Crandall had been at her game. Flawed knew nothing of them, and when I called into Burton's store with them, they appeared to understand my errand. It appeared that that girl had been there yesterday and run up a bill $14 or $15 in my name, that $7 worth she took with her, and called this morning for the rest, and they refused to let her have them. So sent them to me. I was informed that the man she traded with was one who had not been there very long. The rest knew that we never traded in that careless manner. Burton was glad enough that I came when I did, as he will take steps to recover the things she took away. I told him that I knew nothing of where they lived, but there was a woman, a Mrs. Kempton, that could inform them, as she was knowing to their whereabouts as well as their character, and Jenny could tell him where she lived. Wednesday 16th. Charles Burton, with a policeman, came this morning to inquire about Anna Crandall. I called Jen to come and tell him what she knew. Have heard nothing more since. I've had my mattress taken to Dinwiddie's and fixed over. Have been sewing most of the day. Helen and baby came up. She told us she'd been sick, with sore throat. She looked like it. Thursday, 17th, wrote a little and went by invitation to Els to visit with Rachel Simmons and a couple of her family, and Mary have had the headache all day from a cold and sleepless nights. Friday, 18th, slept better last night having taken something to cause it. Still sun shining overhead, partly dressed the dolls for Helen's and Zena's babies' presents from their Aunt Florence. Saturday, 19th, worked some to prepare my article for X went to the off. Louie said she hoped I'd brought my copy, wanted it as soon as possible. Helen came while I was gone and left baby with Lily. I bought some bleached cloth spool cotton and 3 papers of pins. Called at Hardy's and Burton's, learned from Burton that they had found Anna and got back the things she'd got on my account. Believed her mother as guilty as her girl. The officer plead her cause, as he had known Lizzie Crandall many years and had never heard anything before of her being dishonest. Borton said she asked when they first found them what they were to do when they were starving, but pretended that she knew nothing how Anna had got these things. The affair was mentioned in the Herald, but their names were withheld. Sunday, 20th, attended meeting at Tabernacle, had 2 splendid sermons from Bros I. H. Perry and John Henry Smith. The latter was the longest and best, was addressed to the youth. He preached the first principles of the gospel, the best sermon and the most powerful that I ever heard from him. There were a good many strangers. Some were soldiers belonging to the last company who were sent here to fight the Latter-day Saints. They were fine-looking and mere boys. I thought, who knows, but some of them will receive the gospel. I could not see how they could help believing what they heard. Monday, 21st, wrote some and cut out some work. Have had the headache 2 or 3 days, but better of it. Jen washing this afternoon. Lily gone to help Helen iron today. I sat up till 11 o'clock to get my copy finished. Tuesday, 22nd. Slept late, dreamed of being in the southern part of the territory with Sisters Horn, Taylor, and others. A multitude of people were there to attend conference of the ladies. Sister Horn gave up the office of president and made me her successor. I felt terribly over it, feeling how incompetent I was for that position, and I cried bitterly, thinking it impossible for me to fill it. She gave me a piece of cloth with print upon it to hold up to show that I was now her successor. It was the size of a large silk handkerchief. It was time to go to meeting, and my overshoes were not to be found, and I said I could not go in the mud with the slippers that I had on. And I was in a terrible way, hunting everywhere for my rubbers when I awoke. I went over my copy again this forenoon. Helen came up, and I walked with her as far as X office. Louis read my copy, thought it very good. I told her how hard I'd worked my brain to gather up incidents from memory and at the same time my temporal work on my mind, and I'd felt very little spirit of writing under the circumstances. Went to see James Jack and told him I could do nothing about paying him for the $18 that he advanced to pay my taxes. At present, he said he'd wait then till I could. I saw John Q. Cannon afterwards and told him how I was fixed and could not get my cash to pay debts. He promised to see the BP whom I'd run after several times to no avail. I told him, and much more. Orson came to see us this evening. I gave him some bread and milk, told him how I'd been to see James Jack and John Q, and that I'd no way to look for assistance RTO, orders being gone, and that I could not pay him, nor anyone else. He said he'd see that I had another $5 in TO. Order added to the other. From this time I have felt in good spirits, and told him what I did John Q. That I had pretty good pluck and guessed the Lord wanted me to try every other source before he'd lend a helping hand as he had done before. Orson gave me a New Year's poem to read written for the contributor. It will bring him $15. He read some more poetry which he'd copied. It was grand. I forgot to mention giving $1 of my book money to BP Preston's clerk. I told him I thought I'd pay my tithing so that the Lord would be my friend. He said he thought I deserved it. Wednesday, 23. Worked at dressing the dolls for little grandbabies. Helen born and Harriet Whitney received a letter from Caddy Kimball. She is very anxious to come back home to Salt Lake. Have received another good letter from Mr. Beard of Indiana. And another this evening from Bro Soul. He has a little daughter born the month, have named it for me. Wrote part of the answer to it this evening after the house was still. Thursday, 24. Lily came home from Helen's. She was feeling sick this evening. Flawed was so poorly this morning that they wouldn't let her stay to Savage's to work, but advised her to go home, which she did. I gave her a hot foot bath and something hot to drink, and she went to bed. I told the children when my bank opened, I'd make some Christmas gifts. This was after dark, and in a few minutes after, here came the son of Orson's counselor Bro Patrick with an order of on Teesdale for $7, etc. Orson had spoken to him, I felt sure, but did not know. Sure. I felt happily surprised and suddenly too. I went down to the store after that and got a few little presents for General Zine, L, and Lil. I had marked Helen's initials on a new Lindsay sheet to give her, and had a stuff for 2 white aprons which I intended for Flawed and Lily, but had nothing good enough for the others, and had felt rather sad over it. They are dressing a Christmas tree at Mary's. Deck, L, George and M are there helping. Will stay tonight. And tomorrow we are all to meet there, Friday 25. A Merry Christmas this. Had a good time, all our family, and Mary Jane grew and her Violet came together. The children furnished picnic and brought presents and received presents. I had a nice writing or lap desk presented by Orson and Zine filled with letter and blotting paper, pencils, pen holder, paper cutter, and envelopes, etc. L and M gave me Christmas cards. Helen, 3 splendid fine linen handkerchiefs. Flawed, a box of note paper and envelopes with pretty card. Juliet Croxall sent me a stocking bag with the necessary commodities made with her own hands. I gave Zine and L each a cut glass pickle dish, new style, pleased them the best thing I could have chosen, they said. Gave Jen a nice china cream pitcher and Lily 2 pretty glass salt cellars, the latest style. I hunted over the old books of Horace's to give some to the girls and gave one to Orson Henry Kirk White's poems, the same initials of his father. As he wanted it, gave Charlie his Pa's pocket dictionary and Bible, also Shakespeare of that sis, and in a similar binding, and another old book, a story sent Horace from England by R. Anderson, which Charlie prized. Gave Clark and Austin each an old arithmetic which Pa Stud died when a boy in Kirtland, and gave Manny a story book each with his name in. And I wrote in each, presented by, etc. Gave a book to L and Deck in which Pa had written his name, etc. when this was called G. S. L. City. Gave a novel by James to M, which she'd never read, and they prized them highly. I could go no farther this time, but will go around to the rest when I can. I gave a package of letters to Mary Jane Grew written by her bro Orson to us, when a promising young man, most of them from the Sandwich Islands. My girls all but Lily went to the theater. Lil took care of Elle's baby for her to go. Racy stayed all night with me. I wrote a little more to Bro Soul this evening, Saturday 26th, worked on a flannel dress for Lily part of the day, felt uncommonly tired. Have taken cold, I think, being sore all over. Helen Violet came in and gave me her likeness, rained nearly all day. Sunday 27th, spent at home feeling tired out. Racy spent the day here and stays all night. Monday 28th, spent part of the day in looking over the news and doing up parcels, sent off several packages, east and west, finished my letter to Soul. I mailed that. Have not felt able to do anything else. The girls Jen and Flawed washed, and Lily done housework with Flawed's help. The Tuesday 29th. I went to see John Q. Cannon. He told the BP's clerk Bassett to give me an order on TO. He advanced $01, which I asked him for, towards paying some of our little debts. BP Preston has gone, and there seems to be no door open for me to obtain cash to pay my largest debts. I took back 2 glass pepper boxes to Coop, which I got Christmas 10 CTS apiece. Got coffee and a bar of soap in return. Got some sausage at the T.O. market and a broom at the store. After resting, went to work at Lily's dress, though tired out. I forgot to mention Bro Peter St. Clair, who made me a stove board and brought it the day before Christmas, and also fixed it for me with our assistance. When I asked what the price was for putting on the zinc and the timber, he said nothing, he'd done it as a pastime, there being nothing to do that day. I thought myself fortunate in this. He said he knew me in Nauvoo and thought a great deal of my father and mother. Wednesday 30th, worked in pain all day, felt that I'd got to do the work as it is necessary for winter wear. I shed a few tears in the midst of it, as my strength is not equal to the demands upon it, and the troubles that weigh down my spirits, added to the other makes me almost willing to yield up the ghost. Orson thinks it foolish and entirely unnecessary for me to overdo myself and lays it to my lack of wisdom and economy as he could once have done with propriety, but he knows about as much of my daily labors with pen and needle in these days as he does of my secret thoughts and struggles. I have no body to look to in this world that will offer relief or to help carry my burden, but the Lord who well knows the kind of work that I perform and how I am pushed for time to accomplish what little I do. Known duties that I am owing to God and to others is all that prompts me to write now, as I'm worn out nearly and can hardly attend to that and my family cares and give myself satisfaction. Helen and Lily were up here with baby today. Thursday 31st was visited by a brother from the tithing off, where Horace once worked at Lil's dress afternoon. This is the last day of 1885. Orson called this evening is going to spend tomorrow at Provo with Zine and children. Why, Hampton sentenced to 1 year in the pen. David Allen called here, said Christine Kimball nearly died with asthma this evening, had been down street and returned in a terrible way, was almost black in the face from the effort to breath.